this meeting to order pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and is amended as of March 28, 2025. This meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy by remote means in accordance with applicable law. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless required by law. This meeting will be recorded by the local scene. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by viewing the Duxbury government access channels, which are Verizon 39 and Comcast 9. Viewers can visit the localscene.media/Duxbury for information about Duxbury programming, including streaming and watching replays on Duxbury YouTube. Our first order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next is open forum. Anything from the board?
I have something.
Amy?
This is the first meeting that I've attended since I learned that the administrative assistant for this board, Nancy O'Connor, has put in her resignation and will be leaving us in a few short weeks. And I just first encourage all of the public to come in and say, their goodbyes to Nancy, and how much I can speak for myself, and how much I have appreciated how much you do for this town. It is huge. It is a void that I honestly don't know how we will fill. When I first thought about running for this board and then was elected, Nancy is the person that walks you through the paperwork, helps you understand the role. You're invaluable, and I will miss you very, very much. I think it's a very sad day that we're losing you. So thank you for all you've done, and I hope you know how much your time and what you've given to this town means to all of us. Thank you.
I think that deserves a round of applause.
I couldn't agree more.
Hear, hear. Anyone else on the board? Open forum. Nope. I have one thing to share, although the Duxbury Clipper got the scoop first, and I thank you, Duxbury Clipper, for mentioning this in last week's paper. I don't think Duxbury's had this in the past, which is why I bring it to this board's attention. We have an active duty Army soldier, Connor Pernick, 2022 Duxbury High grad, Eagle Scout, has been assigned to the tomb guards at Arlington National Cemetery. Wow. As he's told his father, being assigned doesn't necessarily mean he'll get it, and it's a long road to get there, but even being nominated and assigned to the tomb guard is a tremendous honor, I know, to himself, to his family, and certainly, and I bring this up on behalf of our town, we're very, very proud of Connor Pernick and wish him well in his training, and we hope to see him out there guarding the tomb. It's an incredible honor. So, Connor, if you're watching, congratulations. We're very proud of you. Anything else from the board? All right, I'll open to the public. Anything for open forum?
This is Jim Lambert. Just one thing.
Jim, hold on just a sec. We've got somebody coming to the microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on, Jim. We've got somebody at the microphone. Go right ahead.
Oh, of course. Thank you.
Peter Randall, 501 Elm Street. First, I'd like to ask to have an agenda concerning the Powder Point Bridge again. So if we could put that on an agenda so we could talk about some different options and what's going to look forward in our world. Second, I'd like to ask you guys, who told you that there was no salvage material used on the Powder Point Bridge?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't believe we were told that.
I don't recall that.
It wasn't a question of salvageable
So you don't
material.
really know if any other material, or the old material, was used on the bridge?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'd have to check with DOT or somebody there.
Okay, because that's what when we did the 106, that's what it said, that there was no part of the old bridge. So that's going to come up in the agenda. Okay?
Okay, thank you for raising that, Mr. Randall. We'll put this on the agenda and make sure we get an answer for you on the salvage.
And how do we find out? Just keep looking?
Yep.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I raise this in open forum only because it may affect how you want to run the rest of the meeting. About 5 minutes ago, the planning board, without deliberation, voted unanimously to IP the best article.
All righty. I appreciate that. Mr. Lampert, thank you. All right. So we have our town clerk, Susan Kelly.
Yes,
Ms.
thank you so
Kelly.
much. I would like to read a statement that I've prepared that came to my attention. There was an issue, a clerical error on the town election ballot, so I have a statement that if you indulge me, I would like to read. It's come to my attention that the early vote by mail and absentee ballots for the March 28th annual town election contained an inadvertent clerical error. According to Mass General Law, candidates for Select Board were not ordered correctly. Candidates running for re-election should have been listed before other candidates. Upon notification of this error, I immediately arranged to have the ballot vendor print corrected ballots and expect to receive the reprinted ballots by Wednesday of this week. As soon as the reprinted ballots are received, we will mail each voter a corrected ballot package. For those who may have received the first ballot, if the corrected ballot is returned to the town clerk's office by 6 p.m. on Election Day, any ballot previously received will not be counted on Election Day. However, if the voter does not return the corrected ballot to the town clerk's office by 6 p.m. on Election Day, the earlier ballot will be counted. All corrected ballot packages sent to voters who receive the ballot with a clerical error will include an insert with these instructions. We will not send out any additional early vote by mail or absentee ballots until the corrected ballots have been received. Therefore, ballot packages received by voters after this week will contain the corrected ballot and will not include any special instructions. While it's unfortunate that this clerical error occurred, the error will affect only a very small number of voters. Our office acted swiftly to address the issue, and it will not have any impact on the conduct of the annual town election. Corrected ballots will be used at early voting in person to be held at the Town Hall March 16 through 20 and March 23 through 25, and at the March 28th annual town election. Please note that if voters return the original ballot received, those ballots must be hand counted. So unofficial results that we traditionally announce at the close of polls may not be available until the hand-counted ballots have been tallied. And to give you an idea of the scope of this, we mailed 1,179 ballots last Friday. Working with the Duxbury Post Office, we were able to recover 1,113 ballots that were mailed to Duxbury addresses prior to delivery. So as of today at 4 p.m., we have 24 ballots mailed to a Duxbury address that have not yet been returned, and an additional 42 ballots that were sent to addresses out of town. This morning, we sent an email to those 42 voters who are not in town for the election as a notification that there was an issue, and those voters, again, along with any voters whose ballots were not received back in our office from the post office, will receive replacement ballot packets containing the instructions regarding the replacement. So, so that we will be able to tell which ballots we're looking at, the second batch of ballots is going out with a different color label than the first. As I said, we received back all but 25, separate from those 42. So, a huge thank you to the letter carriers in this town who took the time to pull those out before delivery.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
No, just a comment. This is the first time that I can ever remember where there was any kind of an error. So I'm sure that you're being harder on yourself than anything, Sue. I know you, so,
Yes, it's the
you
first
know.
time in 12 years. I own it, but, extenuating circumstances. I was proofing the ballot on my telephone when I had no power and no Wi-Fi, so.
You know,
Just-
errors, things happen, and, no harm, no foul.
So I'm just glad that we could get ahead of it, and we'll take care of it. Yes, we do have tomorrow to get the rest of the ballots back, fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Anything else for open forum? These are matters not on our agenda, things you'd like us to take up at a later time, or issues or concerns you have with the town? All right, I don't see anybody else in the room. Anybody else online? Don't see any hands, so we'll move on to our next order of business. This is a public hearing on a new Class 1 auto dealer's license for Ken McKim. Discussion and possible vote regarding nope, that's the next item. This is for a Class 1 used auto dealer's license, Ken McKim. It's past 6:35. We need to open the public hearing.
I move that the Select Board opens the public hearing regarding the Class 1 automobile dealer's license application for Ken McKim, DBA KLM Logistics.
We have a
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All's in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, roll
Oh,
call.
roll call. You're right. Thank you. Starting with Mike, please.
Michael, aye.
Cindy, aye.
Amy, aye.
Brian, aye.
Fernando, aye.
All right, terrific. We are open. Do we have an applicant?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a phone here. Do you hear me?
Yep, go right ahead, Mr. McKim.
Hello. My name is Kenneth McKim. I've lived in Duxbury for, I think, 42, 43 years roughly at this point. I have been operating a business out of my home for the last over 30 years and have sold well over $100 million of equipment over that period of time. And I have been an equipment dealer for many manufacturers, both in the United States and Canada, doing basically custom order, direct ship equipment from manufacturer to customer site. So the regulatory affair, or just the environment lately with dealing with these state to state, where there's no reciprocity involved, it's become very difficult for me to try to change from what I've done in the past. I've always worked off of my federal ID numbers and everything I need in terms of that when it comes to like a manufacturer statement of origin, where something is derived and where it ends up at some point in time. But some of these states have become very difficult to contend with. And needing a dealer's license, more or less the more formal thing on top of what I've already done to date, since I paid federal excise taxes and the like of all these things. So strictly, this is just kind of a formality I'm trying to look at, whereas it just make it a lot more easy and convenient for me right now, because right now I've used other dealers in the past, but I got to pay them fees and things of that nature to run it through their books, which is kind of an inconvenience, unfortunately. Some of them have sold their businesses and retired, and makes me look for elsewhere where I should have done this a long time ago. Whereas I'm just strictly an online person. There's not one thing that's ever been in my yard, front, back, or side, and any of my neighbors that have been around me, I think would constitute that. It certainly, this is strictly just an online thing. Obviously, it's a year-to-year permit. If there's anything or any issues that would come of this, obviously the town could just reject that license and remove it. But I haven't had a problem year to date, and again, over 30 years of doing this, and lots of equipment that has gone through my hands in order to make things work. I have a very interesting niche, what I've done for years, and I do it all throughout the country, North America and South America as well, just moving product in Canada on certain custom equipment. So hopefully that kind of gives you a nutshell of what I do and what I'm trying to get to make it easier. Obviously, I'm regulated in order to have a Class 1 dealer's license to the state, because that's new equipment. And I have to have whatever the logs that are required for the state to do all that anyway, and they would audit me and whatever may be the case to make sure that's the case. So it's, again, I'm just trying to make something a little easier than I've been having to deal with lately, and it just seems like the regulatory environment in these states have become very difficult, where I know it could be done a lot easier. So
All right.
hopefully if that answers any questions you may have, or just please, I'm an open book for anything else. As I've sat on town committees for the last 25 years myself on the Shellfish Advisory, so I'm very familiar with the process and how it works in quorums. And, just I'm an open book. Anyone can see me anytime, and they'll tell you the same thing.
Dick, should we give him the license?
I don't know the guy.
All right, questions from the board?
I had one question, and the gentleman's already answered it. It's online, there's no vehicles, there's nothing there. It's basically working from his home office. And he attests that his neighbors never been impacted by his business at his home address. So that was a question I had, and he's already answered it.
On
Amy.
that, I agree. That was, it sounds like, but where is it written that no vehicles are allowed on the premises? Anybody find that language? I just,
Yeah, it's section 8 of the application. Parking spaces, everything 0.
okay. So that's
Go-
the
Nancy? Good.
license. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, for instance, just to give a little insight to this, I have a yard in southern New Jersey that I use to store equipment when I have certain pieces that I need down there. Again, it doesn't happen too often. I have another one in South Carolina. The majority, 99% of my business is not in Massachusetts. It's everywhere but Massachusetts. But, fortunately, I married a Massachusetts girl and I wasn't able to leave.
Well,
So-
I'm
We're-
not second guessing. I'm just making sure that it's in writing, and so future boards and people know what the intent here is. So thank you.
Questions from the board before I open it to the
No,
public? I just have one, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. I know there aren't any vehicles that are going to be at your premises, at your home. Do you ever see customers or have any meetings, any people at your house in connection with the business?
Never once, other than when I've had IRS agents audit me for federal excise tax on vehicles that I would put through, and then I wouldn't even have them here. I'd meet them somewhere else.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the public? This is a public hearing. I don't see anybody rushing to the microphone. Do we have anybody online? I don't see any hands raised. All right. Unless we have anything else, I'm ready for motion.
I move that the Select Board approves and issues a Class 1 automobile dealer's license to Kenneth McKim, DBA KLM Logistics, located at 100 Heritage Lane, for online sales only. No vehicles to be stored or displayed at 100 Heritage Lane, contingent on submission of all required application materials in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 140, and final inspection and permitting by all appropriate town departments as required.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion?
Roll call vote.
All right. Why don't we start with you, Fernando?
Fernando, aye.
Brian, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye.
Michael,
All right, motion carries 5-0. Good luck, Mr. McKim.
Thank you very much. I
Good
appreciate
luck.
your time and consideration.
All right, and then we need to close the public hearing.
I move that the Select Board closes the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Fernando, aye.
Brian, aye.
Amy, aye.
Cindy, aye.
Michael, I.
Okay, we are closed on our first item of business. Next,
I was wondering, sorry to interrupt,
Oh, yeah.
Chair. As I see, we have the applicant, the liquor change of manager from Depot Street here, and also the Duxbury Yacht Club. Is it possible to arrange a schedule such that we take care of that straightforward business before we go on to?
I appreciate that. I think we're still waiting on counsel for Brothers, I believe, Demi?
He's here, actually.
Oh, is he?
He's online.
Okay.
I haven't looked him over yet.
All right.
We'll save Brothers some legal fees by taking it sooner rather than
I think he's
later.
in-house, so he doesn't get paid any extra for night meetings, unfortunately.
Sorry, I messed it up there. Apparently Rennie has to leave early.
Okay, so we'll stay with the current agenda then?
Sorry about that.
No worries.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Discussion and possible vote regarding a request to lower the speed limit on Tremont Street between Cox Corner and the Duxbury Marshfield line. This will be presented by Rainey, but I see Mr. Wheatley is here this evening, Mrs. Wheatley. So I know we'll be picking your brain as well, but why don't we start with Rainey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your packet, you will find a memo that reads as follows. Dear members, for the past few weeks, Mr. Stan Wheatley has appeared before the board to follow up on this request, which has led to this evening's discussion. Following the board's last meeting, I have taken the opportunity to review that request with the DPW Director, Police Chief, and the Chair of the Highway Safety Advisory Committee. The following information is our analysis and recommendation pertaining to Mr. Wheatley's request. On Monday, August 12, 2019, the town of Duxbury held a special town meeting to consider 2 articles, both of which were approved by the voters at town meeting. One was for the acceptance of section 17C of Chapter 90 of the General Laws, and the other was Article 2, the acceptance of Section 18B of Chapter 90 of the General Laws. Following the approval of these two articles, and more specifically Article 1, the town, as noted in the article, now had a statutory mechanism to review and, if applicable, establish a speed limit of 25 miles per hour on any roadway inside a thickly settled or business district in the city or town on any way that is not a state highway. The term thickly settled or business district is defined by General Law, Chapter 90, Section 1, as the territory contiguous to any way which is built up with structures devoted to businesses, or the territory contiguous to any way where the dwelling houses are situated at such distances as will average less than 200 feet between them for a distance of a quarter mile or over. In May of '22, the Select Board contemplated the idea of a townwide speed limit of 25 miles per hour on all town roads in lieu of conducting speed limit reductions which were being addressed one street at a time. The board then requested that the Highway Safety Advisory Committee evaluate and review the idea and provide their recommendation at the conclusion of their analysis. The topic was a continuing item on their agendas for several months, during which they discussed the use of various types of speed reduction techniques geared toward reducing speed limits townwide. At their August 24 meeting, the committee voted 5-1 in favor of keeping the townwide speed limit at 30 miles per hour unless posted otherwise, and to not reduce the townwide speed limit of 25 miles per hour, and the committee formally reported this information back to the board in September of '24. Since that time, the Highway Safety Committee has met with Mr. Wheatley to discuss his ongoing speeding concerns on Tremont Street heading from Cox Corner to the Marshfield Town Line, both of which are roads and not state are town roads and not state roads. In June of '25, the committee heard Mr. Wheatley's concern pertaining to the speeding on Tremont Street, primarily when entering Duxbury from Marshfield, and the location of signage in this area. The committee began a discussion on speeding, signage, and a pavement bump in that area, and that discussion was continued on to a later meeting. In August of '25, the committee met with Mr. and Mrs. Wheatley and members of the Duxbury Police Department to review the results of a speed trailer that had been placed in the area of concern, and the results showed that the most of the vehicles in the subject area traveled between 31 and 40 miles per hour with a median speed of 33.7 miles per hour. Also at that time, the DPW reported that the pavement bump that had been brought to their attention would be repaired in the fall as part of the town's annual paving contract. At the September 25 meeting, the committee again reviewed the request to address speeding on Tremont Street, Route 139, and after additional discussion, the committee recommended that the town consider installing a pole-mounted solar speed limit sign to control the vehicles. Also in the fall of '25, the paving situation was corrected. During the course of his conversations with the Highway Safety Advisory Committee, Mr. Wheatley was advised that if he were to request of Mass DOT that the state reduce the speed limit on these town roads, there would be no guarantee that the state would do so, and in some cases, there's a probability that the state could actually increase the speed limit. On November 31st of '25, Mr. Wheatley submitted a citizen's petition for an article to be included on the March 14th annual town meeting warrant to see if the town will vote to establish a 25 mile per hour speed limit on Tremont Street between Cox Corner and the Duxbury Marshfield Town Line, whether by accepting the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 90, Section 17C, or otherwise. We have been advised by Town Council that this article would be a sense of the meeting article and therefore would not be binding. As part of the analysis conducted pertaining to Mr. Wheatley's request, the DPW measured the distance of the dwelling houses to determine if they were thickly settled as defined by general law, meaning that the houses were situated at such distances as would average less than 200 feet between them for a distance of a quarter mile or over. While the houses were found to be less than 200 feet between them, they were not located for a distance of a quarter mile or over. They were located within an area of 1,218 feet. Also in December of '25, a pole-mounted solar speed limit sign was installed on Tremont Street. Excuse me. At the December 11th, '25 Highway Safety Advisory Committee meeting, Mr. Wheatley attended to express his ongoing concerns related to speeding on Tremont Street, heading from Cox Corner to the Marshfield Town Line. After further discussion, the committee decided not to support his request to lower the speed limit from 30 to 25 in this area, noted that the townwide speed limit in Duxbury is 30 unless otherwise posted, and because this section of Tremont Street does not meet the minimum length of a quarter mile as required by Mass DOT. At the Select Board's meeting on December 15th, Mr. Wheatley spoke under the public comment portion of the agenda and noted that he had filed a citizen's petition to lower the speed limit on Tremont Street between Cox Corner and the Duxbury Marshfield Town Line. He stated that the Highway Safety Committee had declined to recommend the proposal for two reasons: the Select Board's position on additional 25-mile-an-hour zones and a disagreement about Mass General Law requirements, and he further requested that the board schedule a discussion on the matter at a future meeting. The police chief has reviewed this request and noted that the police department does regular traffic enforcement in this area. Since March 1st of 25 through March 3rd of 26, 54 motor vehicle stops have been made on Tremont Street from Cox Corner to the Marshfield Town Line, ranging from erratic driving to traffic speeding stops. Also, the last time any calls were received by the police department with regard to speeding issues in this area was in 2011. As noted above, Section 17C of Chapter 90 of the General Laws provides that the statutory definition of thickly settled or business district as follows: the territory contiguous to any way which is built up with structures devoted to businesses, or, emphasis added, the territory contiguous to any way where the dwellings are situated at such distances as will average less than 200 feet between them for a distance of a quarter mile or over. In this specific case, a portion of the way is built up with structures devoted to businesses from the intersection of Enterprise Street heading north along Tremont Street for a distance of approximately 620 feet. Further, the two parcels in the 620-foot subject area are in the Neighborhood Business 1 zoning district. And I've put the parcel IDs in there for you. And then there's an attached map that depicts the two properties as well. From both a safety standpoint and a statutory compliance standpoint, in terms of meeting the thickly settled definition, we found merit in lowering the speed limit along a portion of Tremont Street on the approach from Marshfield toward Cox Corner, which would essentially become a decelerating area leading up to the stop sign and could serve to improve the safety on the approach to the intersection. Given these factors, we have offered the motion that you have before you.
Questions before we...
Can I ask a question about the
Yep.
memo, about the information provided in the memo? So it's, in the memo, it said that there was a study done of the actual speed on that stretch, and it was 33.7 miles an hour. Do we know how long did they measure that, over a month, a week?
1 year.
Over a year?
Yeah, like it was from March 1st of 25 to March 3rd of this
Because
year.
they put those cords on the street, right? So it's
No,
an
this is
actual...
with speed trailer data.
Oh, okay. Oh, it was from the trailer. So
Highway,
that-
yeah, highway,
Okay, so
excuse me,
that...
police department data.
So that trailer keeps track of what the average speed of the cars
I believe
going
so.
by it? Okay, so that's where that came from. That was my question. Thank you.
What question?
Yep, go ahead, Cindy.
About the speeding bump? I mean, I don't know.
Let me explain that. So, from what I understand, as trucks are making the approach to the intersection coming from Marshfield, if they're heavy trucks and they're using a Jake brake to stop, sometimes you'll hear them chatter, and what'll happen is it'll push the pavement up if it's springtime. And so what the highway department did is they went out there and they infrareded the pavement to flatten it, and therefore made it smooth instead of having the bump there.
Okay, so it wasn't a speed bump in the
No.
sense that it was put there.
I asked about that too. 'cause
No,
I
it
like
was,
that.
it was just the wear on the
Okay.
pavement, basically.
And my second question is having to do with the, if I can find it now, approach to the intersection.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been, is there information to say that if we decrease the approach to the intersection to 25 from 30, that there'd be less accidents at the intersection?
Well, there's no evidence to that at all. That would be supposition, but theoretically, if you're entering an intersection more slowly than you would be normally, the tendency to slow down one would think, would help to reduce.
I would hope that most people are stopping at the stop sign.
Right,
Yeah,
You know, not,
not driving through it.
right.
Well, it is a dangerous intersection, no doubt
the
about it.
intersection's dangerous, but I just don't know what that this is the cause of it, I guess, is where I'm trying to go.
Fernando, then Mike.
Yeah, actually, I note that the chair of the Highway Safety Committee, Mr. Brogner, is attending. I was wondering if he could provide us input from the Highway Safety Committee. This memo is written by Rennie, our town manager, and I was just wondering if, how does the Highway Safety Committee regard Mr. Wheatley's concern? And also note that the Highway Safety Committee has done a lot in support, getting rid of all the bumps in the road, providing a radar, and actually has made quite a bit of an effort. I think Mr. Wheatley stated at the last meeting, at the open meeting, that there wasn't police enforcement in that area, and there quite clearly is. And we measured the median speed limit at 33.7 miles an hour. So I was just wondering, How does the Highway Safety Committee feel about this?
Paul Brognan, 90 Humphreys Lane, co-chair of the Highway Safety Committee in town. I think when you review the minutes of our committee and summarize what Mr. Reed has presented to you this evening, you'll see that on the December meeting 3 months ago, we met and basically discussed for the last time, or the last former time, the issues with the Wheatley's request here. And as noted in the minutes of your notification tonight, the speed trailer went out as step 1. The speed bump was removed in October as step 2. The solar speed limit sign was put out in December as step 3. And then we've discussed it one last time in December at Mr. Wheatley's request. I think when you look at the work of our committee over since last spring, going on 10 or 11 months now, we have addressed each and every one of his requests to the best of our ability, best of our knowledge, in accordance with the rules and regulations of the Commonwealth and town meeting action from the fall of 2019 when we adopted the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. So we've documented everything. In our opinion, Dick Brennan is here this evening as one of the members of the committee, and I know 1 or 2 of them are probably zooming in tonight. We have done our due diligence. We have looked at every facet of these requests. I was actually out there this afternoon with my wheel and measured the distances again. And you can see not only the residential portion of Tremont Street, but the entire portion of Tremont Street from Cox's Corner to the Marshfield Town line is less than 1/4 of a mile. And that's the big threshold here that we have to live with and uphold for any request that we have entertained in the last 5 or 6 years. Obviously, the paperwork in front of you tonight is worded a little bit differently to take a little bit of a different twist on everything, but that's fine at this point in time. But from a residential viewpoint, we do not have 1/4 of a mile, but we have entertained every other positive request and spent over almost $6,000 of the town's expenses on both removal of the speed bump and the installation of the solar speed limit sign. So be more than happy to address any questions.
So basically, you've done your best to satisfy Mr. Wheatley's concerns, but as a committee, you're supporting the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit reduction as presented in Rennie's memo or not?
The committee has not entertained this. This just came up last Friday. The committee met, early in the month, like last Thursday afternoon, to be honest with you. So we have not entertained it, but at this point, we're dealing with a business district. With this motion, we're not dealing with the residential area because it doesn't meet the 1/4 of a mile minimum requirement. So,
so where is this 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign proposed to be installed?
Right there.
it's the business section
At
only
the start of the
from
business area?
the intersection with Church and Tremont and Enterprise Street down to the east end of the yoga building and Attorney Mitchell's Sullivan's office. So it's right there where the business district ends and the residential compatibility district begins.
Oh, okay, so the speed limit reduction will
About
be
600
within
feet.
the business district?
It's 609 feet as of this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, so can I,
I think Mike had something, and Cindy's right ahead after that.
well, just a clarification, so you're talking about just putting 25 miles per hour in the business district?
Yep, when you look at your map, this map that we handed out to you, it would be from there
So that,
to there, 620 feet.
so there, okay.
Because of this, the statute that says that it has to be a heavily populated
Thickly
area
settled.
for a thickly settled area for 1/4 of a mile. But does the statute say that that thickly settled area has to be all within one town? Isn't that
Yeah,
isn't
well,
that the
that-
glitch?
Well, no, that doesn't have any bearing on this application whatsoever. In fact, if you look at the, what is it, 1, 2, 3, fourth page of the memo, the definition's right there. The territory contiguous to any way which is built up with structures devoted to business, period, full stop. That's what qualifies this portion being 25 miles an hour, because the next word is or. The territory contiguous to any way where dwelling houses are situated at such distances as average less than 200 feet between them for a distance of 1/4 mile or over. It fails on that because it's the distance between, the distance from here to here is not 1/4 mile.
But on the,
In
Here,
fact,
but-
the entire road length that we're talking about isn't 1/4 mile, it's short by 102 feet. So the only way that you could do legally, by way of the statute of reducing the speed limit would be in this area right here, where it's considered a business district.
Okay, but why did you cut off the other end? Why?
'Cause that's the town line.
That's what I'm asking. Does the statute say that stops at the town line? Like, could the thickly settled area
It's silent.
continue into Marshfield?
It's silent.
It's silent, okay. So I think that I guess, I'm sorry, but if Mr. Brogna could think about an answer to this question, if the statute, if we were to decide that the statute, because it was silent, could mean that the heavily densely area extends into Marshfield, therefore complying with this, would the committee recommend, because you're our advisors, so I think we're looking to you as to what your recommendation would be for the reduction in the speed limit.
During the course of our discussions the last 10 months with Mr. Wheatley, we asked the question about, have you been to the Town of Marshfield Public Works Department to entertain their request to lower this 35-mile-an-hour speed limit sign on Careswell Street and lower that to 30 or to 25 as you enter Marshfield, but that hasn't been done. And obviously, it's not the committee's responsibility.
So what this would look like is, on the Marshfield side, you'd have 35, and then when you cross the town line, it drops to 30, and if approved, then it would be 25 for the last remaining 600 feet.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Mike?
First, I want to commend the Highway Safety Committee. They've obviously worked very diligently on this issue. And Mr. Wheatley, you know, this is important. Residents should raise issues, and this is the process. I think it's important. It's something you care about and you're concerned about in your neighborhood. So I'm glad you raised the issue. But I also want to commend you folks for being professionals and handling this and following the law. And really our DPW department too, working hard to address these concerns on that strip of land. In that area, generally, we've heard about a number of concerns on the other Tremont or 3A. Probably mix that up because 139 at some point there. But that area is challenging and dangerous. So I'm glad that everybody's stepping up, and it was encouraging to hear too about the police work here. I mean, there was a significant number of stops and no complaints since 2011. So I think that's notable. One thing I'm kind of overarching for Duxbury here, driving around a lot, there's potholes everywhere because of the storm. And we are tied into our budget for our roads with state funding. We don't have a separate line item for any kind of funding for this. We've spent $6,000 on this small strip of land here. What do we anticipate this is going to cost at all? And do we have the money for it?
To lower the speed limit?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a sign. They're not very expensive.
Okay.
And as for the potholes, the DPW's carried a line in there for pothole fixing for years.
Okay.
That hasn't changed.
So we have money. I know that's a separate issue, but I just want to make sure we're not. That's a considerable amount of money for a small strip of land, and I think it's there's a lot of merit to it. And like I said, I commend our DPW for stepping up and addressing his concerns. But I just want to make sure we're not further depleting the funding. So that's not an issue.
Not that I see.
And did you talk about some kind of rumble strip or something that's going in, or is that already gone in?
No, there was the pavement had been, I'll say, essentially damaged because of the Jake brakes on the large 10-wheel trucks coming in.
For the sand?
No, coming in fast and trying to stop quickly.
Okay.
So they were going more than 33.7 miles an hour,
I
maybe.
would suspect they might be, Amy.
Well, they're coming in at 35 from Marshfield, at least. And that's significant here. I mean, we're not talking very much space here. Marshfield's got a speed limit of 35. So, all right. Those are my comments and questions.
Mr. Wheatley, would you like to address the question? To the microphone, please. We know who you are, but if you could introduce yourself for the folks at home, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Stan Wheatley, 1548 Tremont Street. Credit to Ms. O'Connor and what a good job she does. I've had a chance to look at Mr. Reed's report, and I think it's best just to start with that. There is some information in that report that I disagree with, but I am receptive to the way it ends up. There is no explicit quid pro quo, I understand that, but I'm guessing there's an understanding that if you pass this, that we will indefinitely postpone the town meeting article, and that's a reasonable expectation. There's really only one issue that I have after looking at that, and this is just my training. I see ambiguity in everything. The proposed motion, it's a little ambiguous to me whether the speed limit would apply on both sides of the road in both directions. I think it would be very odd if it didn't, but I think I owe it to the neighbors on the other side of the street to clarify that we're talking about 25 miles an hour to that line in both headed southbound and headed northbound.
Why don't we get the answer to that? Is that our understanding?
I used the previous motions that you've done for all speed limits, and it's always sort of been assumed that it was both sides. It wouldn't be one side.
Okay, so both sides.
It's not
Okay.
true on 14.
It was over by your house, though. That was the motion
No,
I
it's
used.
two different,
It is?
it's two different. It's 40 in one direction and 30 in the other.
Really? Oh, well, then, point
All right,
taken.
so we'll-
Thank you.
But that's the intent.
How'd that happen?
So we'll, all
There's a
right,
mix-up with the sign.
we'll
You'll get a sign
we'll
made,
include
Cindy.
that in the motion. We'll include that in the motion.
And I can
Go right
never
ahead.
remember, I'm sorry.
But
No kidding.
with that clarification, I'm speaking for myself, my wife, and I think for the rest of the neighborhood. The suggested motion is acceptable, and I would I would indefinitely postpone the town meeting article if it's adopted at this meeting.
Okay. Other comments? I have a couple of thoughts. So I drove through there over the weekend as well, just to get a better sense as to what it looks like now. I think the sign is a great idea, the radar sign. I don't know how effective it is necessarily. I certainly noticed it, and it was telling me I was compliant with the speed limit. But it is a little tight in there, and I don't go through there very often, and I was reminded how relatively quickly the business district came up on my right as I was coming into town. The other thing that occurs to me is as we get further into the bridge issue over the next few years, this segment of Tremont is going to be heavily used for beach access. I anticipate it will, which leads me to give it sort of special consideration that we're going to put a lot more traffic, I think, on this segment of the street. And I did also speak with another neighbor over there to get a different perspective, somebody who's not involved in the process, and how they feel about it. It was sort of not ambivalence, but hey, sure, we wouldn't mind a lower speed limit the closer you get to Cox Corner. So I completely appreciate all the work that Highway Safety put into this. I know that it's been a lot of meetings. And I don't want to set a precedent where we go street by street unless there's a real good reason. In my view, there seems to be a relatively compelling reason in this case for this particular relatively small segment, which sort of gets me beyond my typical position, which is leave the speed limits as they are and just enforce them. I think coming into town, as Fernando mentioned, it's 35 in Marshfield, 30 when you get across the town line. If we're limiting the deceleration for 25 to the business district, my sense is folks are starting to slow down there anyway. So I don't know if this is going to be a significant change, but maybe it's a good reminder with that 25 mile an hour sign that you need to slow down. And I'm also cognizant of the fact this is a very dangerous intersection in town. From all the angles. So maybe we need to look at this in a larger lens over time, but this might be a good step in the direction of addressing traffic safety in an area that needs it. So I'm inclined to support the proposal in these limited circumstances, unless somebody has a real compelling reason why we shouldn't do it in this case. And I'd open it up for anybody else, if there are other neighbors who'd like to be heard, or folks who drive through there. Mrs. Wheatley, go right ahead.
Sigrid Wheatley, 1548 Tremont Street. I wanted to also echo my husband's sentiment in terms of the appreciation that we have for Highway Safety Committee, excuse me, DPW, and this board as well for working with us all this time. The safety issue came to light primarily because of the beach restoration projects that are now sort of an ongoing thing. We had a lot of conversations surrounding the increased traffic situation and hundreds of trucks, passing by the house. As part of those discussions, there were phone calls between myself and Chief Carbonet, as well as the DPW folks in Marshfield and Duxbury Construction, particularly with respect to the speed at which the trucks were traveling. And I just want, in that vein, I just wanted to point out the fourth full paragraph on page 3, I think, where Rainey talks about input from the Duxbury Police Department in terms of the enforcement and so forth. I can't speak to the number of traffic stops. I don't have anything to base that statement on, so I'm just going to assume that it's accurate. But I'm strongly disagreeing with the final sentence of that paragraph in which they say, also, the last time any calls were received by the police department with regard to speeding issues in this area was in 2011. That is patently false. Absolutely false. I don't know where that information came from. So I just wanted to set the record straight on that there has been ongoing dialogue concerning the lack of enforcement, and the chief specifically said that the town doesn't have the resources for active enforcement in that area. Just to urge you to please consider the motion that is before you this evening as a first step in the right direction. It's not a silver bullet to solve the problem, but it's that first step, and that's the hardest step to take.
Thank you. Amy?
During recent discussions about this intersection, it being has a history of being a dangerous intersection, did we not discuss, or do we have signage that alerts people to an upcoming stop sign? Remember, we had heard folks talk about that intersection, that they thought that it was a four-way stop, and that's why people were going right through the intersection without stopping. And certainly it is not a four-way stop. And didn't we talk about putting signage up, maybe Mr. Brogna remembers, that alerts people that there's a stop ahead? Or do we have that currently? Does anyone recall that?
If you recall, back on April 1st, 2024, we had a serious T-bone accident at that intersection. That evening, a number of people from town showed up that Monday night. Long story short, between April and June, the committee studied the report of the police department. We looked at the intersection, and we drafted up a letter from our committee to the board requesting this letter be supported in principle and forwarded to the Mass Department of Transportation with a copy, I guess, to Senator Pat O'Connor's office in Weymouth, to basically request a flashing red light northbound on 3A and east-westbound yellow flashing light on 139. That is still, I guess, under study. There's really been no update from our committee on that. And at the same time, Mrs. Sheehan, when she was here that Monday night, she requested a couple signs be put on the east-west side of the intersection. And Susanna, what did they say? Cross traffic, through traffic ahead?
Yeah.
You remember, come on. There were small signs on the stop sign from 139 into the intersection. Stan, what does it say?
It says something along the lines of cross traffic does not stop.
Correct. So that's the addition of what was done 2 years ago. They're small signs, but they're there, and I know people have read them.
Mr. Brogdon, let me just say that your memory is amazing.
It is, isn't it?
See,
Stunning.
I remembered something, but I didn't remember it to that clarity, so, thank you. So, I'm
That
not
was an
crazy,
important
so we
accident. I
have
mean,
talked
that
about
one,
this.
that hit home with us, right, Dick? That hit home. It really did, because we're not going to forget that one.
Yeah.
And we drive that intersection frequently, as a lot of people do here, so.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy?
Yeah, so I just need some clarity here. You're saying, what this motion is saying is that in Marshfield, it's going to be 35 miles an hour. And from the Marshfield line until the business district, it's going to be 30 miles an hour. And then it's going to be 25 miles an hour. And so you're going to have, in both in the other direction, so it's going to be, you're going to have a sign saying 25, and in 100 feet or so, there's going to be a sign that says 30, and then they're going to go.
One is an acceleration lane, the other could be considered a deceleration lane. Yep, that's exactly how it'll be.
You know, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm sort of generally against this sort of, it's almost like spot zoning, you know, it's, you know, taking, you know, little individual streets and saying, you know, you're going to be, you know, something different. And I understand what Brian's saying about the beach access, but I don't know. I don't like having to go, you know, street by street and decreasing the speed limits like that. I mean, there's a lot of small streets in this town. And I think Mr. Wheatley, when you were here last week, stated that what your goal was, you just wanted people to go 35 miles an hour, you know, by decreasing it. And so what we're seeing in the memo is that people are going less than 35 miles an hour on average. I mean, certainly not everybody.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I didn't get into, but I disagree with. The methodology that was used with that radar trailer, you have to understand exactly how that works. And it only measures one car to the next as it is able to see one car to the next. And as a result, you frequently get situations where there are lines of cars. You've got somebody who is doing the speed limit. And so you get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars apparently doing close to the speed limit. But the cars that are not backed up that way, those are the ones that are doing 40, 45 miles an hour, and it happens all the time. I was there when the police officer presented his report, and he said he had numerous hits at 40, 45 miles an hour. The average, which is still, by the way, above the speed limit, but the average reflects the fact that, especially during rush hour, you get these lines, and so people are going slower. But that's not really it's not really the lines that are the problem. It's the individual drivers that are blowing through their 40, 45 miles an hour, and it happens all the time.
Yeah. But this motion is not going to change the speed limit by your house.
Well, I understand that. It would be better, in my opinion, if it did. You know, I've presented the argument that the quarter-mile rule is not constrained by the town line, that you can look past the town line for that. But, you know, at this point, I and the neighborhood would be satisfied with just making it 25 miles an hour in the business district. And in terms of the distances, you said 100 feet. It's more than that. It's,
Well,
yeah, okay. It's much more than that. It's 600 feet
that's
would
fine.
be 30 miles an hour. 600 feet would be 600 feet and change would be 25.
Yeah,
I think it is it's a worthwhile thing, especially if it's going to be in both directions, as long as we've clarified it's going to be in both directions. I think it will materially improve the situation. Even if it's a half a loaf, I think it will be a material improvement over what we have now.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Anything else from the public? I don't see anybody online. All right, let's take a motion.
I move that the Select Board vote to reduce the speed limit from 30 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour on both sides of Tremont Street 139, beginning at the northern lot line of the property located at 1528 Tremont Street, as identified on the Town of Duxbury's assessor maps as parcel number 104-731-352 to the intersection of Enterprise Street 3A, and further to authorize the chair to sign and send notice of said action to the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, Mass DOT.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. All right. Thank you, Mr. Wheatley. Thank you to the Highway Safety Committee.
Yes.
I know this has been on your docket for a number of meetings, and we appreciate the work you've put into this.
Now, I don't know if this is the time and place, but as a result
I
of
don't know,
that,
we can still vote,
I would,
so be careful.
I would like to indefinitely postpone the town meeting article.
That has to be
You'll
done
have
at
to do it
town
from the
meeting.
floor
Okay, yeah.
at town meeting.
Okay, I've got to, okay, I can do
All right.
that.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Dick.
Yeah.
And thanks, the Police Department and DPW for the work in addressing Mr. Whitley, Mr. and Mrs. Whitley's needs. Thank you.
Yeah, agreed. Our goal is all the same,
Right.
public safety.
Yep.
All right, next on our agenda is discussion and possible votes on Select Board article recommendations in the March 14th, 2026 annual town meeting warrant. This will be presented by Mr. Reed, the town manager, Jeannie Horn, the HR director, and Mary McKinnon, our finance director. Who'd like to go first? We have 3 of them, Articles 4, 21, and 18.
For Article 4, I yield to Jeannie. if you don't
All
mind.
right, Article 4, Ms. Horn.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Jeannie Horn. I'm the Human Resources Director for the town of Duxbury. And I'm here to present Annual Town Meeting Article 4. I wanted to let you know that this Annual Town Meeting article was presented to the Finance Committee last week. And there was one abstention, and the rest of the committee unanimously approved. So for Annual Town Meeting Article 4, it is the funding of salaries for personnel policies employees who are our non-union employees in grades 1 through 5. For fiscal year 27,
Okay.
I have some estimated costs that I provided to the Select Board in a memo, and I'll just run through those. So for the, let me just close this door.
Jeannie, if you can hold on just a second. Rainey, can you point us to our packet
It should be in
page?
packet number 2,
What page number? I'm going through.
15 through 18, I believe.
No,
It's
it
packet
15
number
goes
1.
new business.
It's packet number 1.
It's a packet number 1.
Oh, it is? Okay, I don't read those, I get them hard copies.
Okay, let me look at page 15 of okay.
Go to Nancy's thing.
I've got Roach Brothers on page 15 of packet of 1 of 2.
I may have the wrong page number.
And I don't have anything in,
Do you know where it is, Nancy?
Yes, it's packet number 1.
okay, I keep on looking here.
Mike, do you remember where you found
Yeah,
it?
that's what I was just looking
Got
at.
it.
What's the question?
There's 3 attachments.
There's
And it's
3.
after the motor vehicle, with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
issue that we just dealt with the,
Speed limit.
It's in
No,
The Wheatley
no,
memo?
no, it's after the gentleman that was here looking to become,
business.
A business.
The home.
It's right
vehicle
after
business.
the vehicles, yep.
yeah.
It's
Okay, got
after
it.
Brothers.
Got it. It's page 14, got it, thank you.
All right, Jeannie, go right ahead.
Okay. So the recommendations are as follows. A 2.25% general increase, which would impact 115 employees and the personnel policies. And the estimated cost for that is $169,529.55. The next item is a 1.5 to 2% internal equity adjustment to address pay compression. So this is incremental, and it would impact 2 supervisors. And the cost of that pay, so basically what's happening in those situations is I examined all of the pay for 115 people in the personnel policies and found that for 2 supervisors, the pay is severely compressed between the supervisor and their highest paid direct report, whether or not that direct report employee is in the personnel policies. So it goes across bargaining units as well. So the pay is so compressed, we need to take an incremental approach to that pay compression so that we make progress on separating the pay between the supervisor and the subordinate employee. And we do that for succession planning and for compensation planning purposes. So it's a very common practice in the compensation world. The next recommendation is for a 1 to 2% internal equity adjustment for years of service. So this impacts 15 employees. And the estimated cost for that is $11,147.89. And again, this is for persons in the personnel policies who have been in their positions for 7 or more years. And I'll go into some of the detail below. And then there's a job evaluation adjustment for one employee. So that particular employee had a significant it's recommended that they have a significant change to their job duties. So currently that employee isn't supervising any employees, but that employee will be supervising 8 employees. So that is what so this is part of our pay guidelines and the personnel policies. So it's job evaluation is one of the categories. So it happens when we have new positions. We use job evaluation to classify the position, and it also happens when there is a significant change in the duties of a position. So we go through, we update the job description, we complete the job analysis questionnaire. It's like a mini classification study. So the subtotal of those costs is $189,555.40. There are other funding sources as well, which total $36,902.73. So the general fund total impact is $152,652.67. So further down in the memo, I outline what the objective is for our non-union pay philosophy, and it is to maintain established pay structure to deliver equitable compensation based on the town's ability to pay. And the methodology to achieve that objective is to compensate employees within the established pay range for each grade and in conformance with the Equal Pay Act, Fair Labor Standards Act, and other applicable federal and state requirements. So the recommendation is to utilize the general increase to move each job title within the pay range for their grade. So we added 2% to the bottom of the pay range for fiscal year 27 and 2% to the top. So the 2.25% gives people a little bit of movement so that they're not just exactly where they would be if we hadn't provided the 0.25%, so that they have a little bit of a vehicle to move through that. We're not recommending a merit adjustment pool, given our financial situation, and to make, again, incremental internal equity adjustments to persons who have been first, we'll talk about pay compression, and I've already described that. We've got one supervisor, and with the recommendation of 1.5% pay change to further differentiate from their direct report, and the other supervisor a 2% increase. And then years of service adjustments, this will look familiar to you as well. So for employees compensated below the midpoint of their range for the new fiscal year 27 pay range, we examine that to make, because we don't have steps in the non-union compensation like union employees do. So in order to ensure that people are progressing through the range, we examine and analyze the pay data every year. So we're recommending a 1% increase for persons who have been in their positions for 7 to 10 years. That's 11 employees who are impacted by that. 2% for employees who have been in their position for 10 to 14 years. Those are 4 employees. And we don't have anyone, and this is kind of the good news story of this incremental approach. We don't have anyone who has been in their position for 15 or more years with pay that is still below the midpoint of their range. So that's kind of the goal. We're trying to make sure the pay compression happens when people are hired into jobs at or near the pay of someone who's been in that job for a number of years. So So the last two items are efforts to remedy the pay compression that exists within every organization. So this is also a common practice. And again, I had referred to the one employee earlier in the memo. So there was one job evaluation adjustment that's attributed to a significant change in job duties.
Questions from the board? I know we have some. Fernando?
I just want to double check. So we have a general increase to move each job title within the applicable pay range, right? Each job title does not mean each employee, each job title.
It actually, thank you. You're right. It's each employee.
Okay, so basically, a person then gets 2.5%, which is again equality.
0.25.
Most of our union contracts have a 2% COLA
Correct.
adjustment. All
But
right.
they also have steps.
Right, and they have steps, right? Again, so trying to maintain equality there, so to speak. But just to confirm, a person that is between 10 to 14 years in position will get 2%, 2.25% plus 2% will get 4.25% pay rise.
Correct.
Can I ask for clarifying on what Fernando just said? For those longevity increases, a 2023 memo that you put out called those one-time year of service adjustments. But yet we're seeing them every year. So are these new people that are just hitting the benchmark for the FERC? Can you please help me understand
It
how
depends.
it's
So,
not one time?
In terms of the one-time verbiage was used because that coincides with it's intended to indicate that it's not always available. It's based on the town's ability to pay. So we look at it one time a year to determine whether or not we have people that fall into these categories and if there is funding available to provide that years of service pay. So what ends up happening is, because it is an incremental approach, and the goal is to ensure that persons with 10 to 15 years of service are closer to the midpoint or beyond the midpoint, depending on where they are in that 5-year swing. There is it's possible that people receive that pay adjustment in multiple years until they are beyond the midpoint, and then it's not available anymore. So the idea is to move people closer to that goal. And sometimes people are really close, and it takes a one-time adjustment. Other times people are really far away from it, and it takes longer. Like, for example, if someone was reclassified into a position and they were like a grade 3, but they got reclassified to a grade 5, that midpoint is a different value than it was at grade 3, now that you're looking at the midpoint at grade 5. So it may mean in that instance that someone gets more than one years of service adjustment, because that's what it takes to get them kind of over that goal line.
Mike?
I think we could all agree that equity to one person might mean something different to another. And I kind of think about this from these one-offs, as I'll call them, like the adjustment for the person that added 8 new reports and people and the compressions. You mentioned reclassifications and these one-offs. What is the process for an employee that maybe thinks that they do more, that they should be reclassified into a different grade, or that they're taking on more responsibility? And then I say this too because we've lived through these classification studies. We look at other towns. It makes a lot of sense to look at other towns. You got to look at some kind of metric. But a person in a position, I'm not going to single anyone out, person in a position here might do 3 things that a person with the same title doesn't do in another town like Situate or wherever. Even if we're the same size, we have the same makeup and everything like that, we are seeing countless examples of people in our offices here and in our departments taking on multiple roles and doing extraordinary work. And I just want to make sure that they're treated as equals and that they are given these opportunities to change classes, grades, and be rewarded if they are taking on more work, not just more people, but more work. If they are actually putting in that kind of work. I know we're not giving merit raises this year. I just want to make sure that equity is there.
That's a great question. So in response to that question, the reason why it's called the classification and compensation study is because the classification happens internally. So our classification is a comparison of all of our jobs within our organization. So that starts with an accurate job description. And I'm going to explain the process that we followed with the classification and compensation study, but that's why I made the comment that it's like a mini classification study that we just did. The pay guidelines for the personnel policies on page 18 include job evaluation. So there is a process that employees who are in the personnel policies can follow. And specifically, it says a job evaluation is conducted when a new job is proposed or the current responsibilities and or minimum requirements have been changed significantly and warrant the review of the grade. So that it goes into the considerations, the primary factors, and then it goes into guidance. So that's all clearly defined in the personnel policies and has been for quite some time, since at least 2021, if not before. So the classification is an internal examination of our non-union grades. And we did it, obviously, for the whole organization. There were 144 job titles. I don't know how many unique job titles there are specifically at this moment within the personnel policies, but we would follow this. We do follow the same exact process. So first it starts with an examination of the job description, and an employee can raise this with their supervisor and with their department head.
That was
so
my
they
next
can,
question.
yep.
How does one that's aggrieved
Yes.
doesn't feel like
And
they're
there's
being treated fairly?
another great question. There is a grievance process available through the personnel policies as well.
So just just to explain it to the public, how does that work? Like, how does one that does not feel like they're in the right class or being rewarded for their work, how do they challenge that internally here?
I will say that we just did a classification and compensation study. So we went through this exercise with we did it in 2021, and then we did it again more recently in 2023. Mm-hmm. And we implemented in 2024. So again, it starts with the job description. So if people have changes in their job duties, they examine their job description. So when we were doing a big study, that was emailed to everybody. But anyone who applies for a job, when they apply for their job, they're applying to the job description. That's available. Mm-hmm. And if there are significant changes in the duties and responsibilities of the position, then the supervisor, HR, and the employee can work together, and we can complete a job analysis questionnaire, and we can determine, using the same evaluation system, how significant those changes are. So there are significant variations in job that have to do with volume, and that's not necessarily an indicator that the job has to change. If it's more of the same work, that isn't considered a reclassification. It means that we have to redistribute the labor as it relates to that position. But when the example that I gave is that there's an individual who didn't supervise anybody, and now it's being proposed that this person will be supervising a division of that organization and 8 employees. That is a significant change. All in the municipal environment, as Fernando likes to say, there are lots of unfunded mandates. So every single one of us has duties that we do now that aren't necessarily ones that we've had for the whole time that we've been in our job. So it's examined on an individual basis.
Go ahead, Amy.
So I think a bit of, it's important to recognize that oftentimes when we adopt these, they are what is going to continue moving forward. That's the new baseline.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about something like I think you were just touching on, which is the job evaluation adjustment, which is for one employee and is an adjustment of about $5,000, in which you're saying that job has dramatically changed to where they're a supervisor, aren't they simply getting a promotion into another job that already has a grade, already has a classification? I get concerned when we're making, and again, I think part of why we're having this conversation is that we all want to avoid any appearance of inequity.
Yep.
Or making decisions that we don't understand what the ramifications. So we asked for this information so we can get it out there that, this is what Article 4 actually does. So help me understand why the person, the job evaluation adjustment isn't a promotion into a new job.
So it's a great question. In this particular instance, the individual will be maintaining all of their current job duties. So the only thing that's changing is that there is basically this, so there's a division of this department that is being proposed to be reassigned to this individual for a variety of different reasons. One is it makes more sense from an organizational alignment perspective. So the job duties make sense when you look at them in their totality. And it aligns with the updated reporting requirements from the state of Massachusetts. So it's an alignment of the responsibilities into one position that make more sense. So it is a promotion in effect because the person's changing from one grade to the next. And that is why there is a change in their pay, because the pay range for one grade is lower than the pay range for the next grade. So that's the cost of moving that person from one grade to another, which in effect does provide a promotion, but it's not into a different job title. It's into a different grade, but they're maintaining all of the same job duties and then some.
But without advertising it as a new, without any, it's, usually if there's an empty slot that needs to be filled, it goes out to.
That is true when it is a different job, when there's a promotion. And if this was a vacancy, that would be promoted. And this, let's say that it is a different job in a different grade. This individual could apply for that different job in a different grade. It could be posted internally. It could be posted internally and externally, but everybody would have the opportunity.
I understand what you're saying, but honestly, it is a different grade. This is moving that person into a different grade, and they're supervising 8 people. So it does seem like
it is a different grade, but
different job.
The job
than
duties,
what they're doing.
every single one of them is still the same for the job. It has additional duties.
Mike and Cindy?
No, Cindy first.
Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just curious, did you say that there's 144?
That was the total from the townwide study.
Of people that fall under this compensation, this particular?
So there's 115 people for the personnel policies.
115, okay, so that was my question. So 115, so all of them are
It's all
getting,
grades, so there's 115 people in personnel policies, grades 1 through 15.
okay, and I'm sorry, and what were the 144?
That was like townwide, that's the number of unique job titles that we have, that we included in the overall classification and compensation study.
And includes union employees as well.
Yep.
Okay, and so some people then, of the 115, are getting more than one increase.
Yes.
Mike?
Just a quick question. What's the other funding source?
There are several other funding sources, the two primary ones are enterprise funds. One is rock and the other one is water.
Okay. Yeah.
I have everybody else good?
I'm good.
I have a couple of questions. So just stepping back for a second, and thanks for the detail, but just stepping back and looking at Article 4 in the warrant itself, as I approach this from being a voter at town meeting, the first thing that I see are increases in minimum and maximum salary. That's the 2.25%
That's
increases.
2%
This
to
is
the pay
2%?
range.
Okay. All right, so we have the 2%, which accounts for the adjustments in the fiscal year 27 pay range, right?
So the pay range is being increased by 2%.
Yep, okay, so we see the minimum and the maximum. So this, I'm just, again, thinking through it as
Yes.
a voter at town meeting. I'm
Thank you.
wondering what these numbers are, so this is the 2%. There are also, and we didn't discuss this yet, there are a number of additional or new positions.
Yes.
Can we go through those as well?
Sure.
The first is town engineer, line 20.
Where are you?
This is, I'm in the warrant.
The warrant.
Oh,
That one was actually presented in the budget, the 5A budget.
hold on.
Okay. Well, why don't we just review it again, since we're on Article 4?
Where am I going to find the budget?
You
for
are
the
going to
warrant?
find that in your annual town meeting warrant
I know, but
This
I
is
don't-
on
page-
page 8.
Nancy sent it to on March 6th.
Yep.
March 6th?
Page 9,
Ah, I see it, okay.
line 20.
So it,
Oh, final, special, regular.
Yeah, I've got it.
So on page 9 is the town engineer. And the pay range, top and bottom, have been increased by 2%. And I believe the cost, the estimated cost of that position is part of the 5A budget.
Correct.
Yep, and I believe we had a discussion about the need, where this is going to save the town in the long run, because we're spending so much on outside engineers over the
Correct.
course of the year.
Yep.
All right, anybody have questions on line 20? Then the next one is 55, finance operations manager for the council on aging.
Yes. So that's the position that I was just speaking about that's being reclassified.
Okay,
So you can see, that's why we include it as track changes.
yep.
So you can see that the finance operations manager at the Council on Aging
Oh, it moved up.
is currently a grade 7.
Okay,
And the
got it.
proposal is that it moves to a grade 8.
Okay.
What page are we on with this one?
This is page
10.
10 of the warrant. So line 68 got moved up to line 55.
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
And this is the same track changes convention that we've used for all of the classification and compensation study
Yep.
changes, so that people can follow it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I like the approach, and I just want to make sure for those who are watching in preparation for town meeting, because the countdown is on.
Yes, it is.
To the extent folks are focusing on Article 4, which we all are, that they just have some sort of broad basis to what the main numbers are that we're looking at, and I think you've explained those.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes,
Well,
Fernando?
I believe that for the Council on Aging, it was demonstrated clearly that this position will pay for itself
Mm-hmm.
with the revenue.
Correct.
From-
Well, no,
No, no, no.
other funding.
Not this one.
Not this
Oh,
one.
but I don't have a microphone, so Gina, can you add that the incremental cost of this position, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
thank you. The dollar value that's listed here for that job reclassification cost impact, that is actually going to be covered by one of the other funding sources, which is GETRA. Which is
Because
the
that is,
transportation.
those are the employees and the division that this person will be overseeing.
So the finance operation for the Council of Aging, that increase is being paid by GATRA?
It is, because it's related to the enhanced job responsibilities that are being added to the position.
Is that dial-a-ride?
It's the bus that
It's the
drives around.
Greater
Yeah, I know.
Heidelberg.
So that's
Empty bus.
Ooh.
Okay.
unlike the new position for the
It's
town
not-
engineer, where there isn't.
No, it's not that-
funding is not coming from.
I'm sorry.
The other position that we just spoke about, the new position, the town engineer, the Council on Aging is funded. That position is not funded. And while I think the conversation has been that that it is a need that will save us money in the long run, that hasn't really been demonstrated. So it's a bit different, that position.
Clearly, yeah. One's
Clearly.
raising appropriate, and the other one, and if this position, only roughly $5,000 of it is being used, they're using GATRA money for it.
Got it.
All the other positions are.
Can I just ask we have a bus, right, that this person, the finance operations manager, COA, basically coordinates those little buses that drives around, right? Okay, that's what
Yes.
That's what we're talking about
you're
here.
talking
That
about.
would be
We're
the
not
change.
talking about that bus service, GATRA bus service that drives up and down, people saying it's empty. There's a confusion. I think I just want to clarify the
Council on
point.
Aging and GATRA are two different things.
Okay,
Right? GATRA comes out of
exactly.
Plymouth,
Yes,
and
that's right.
Council on
Correct.
Aging
Yes,
is the
that's
There was a bit
bus
of
at the senior
confusion
center.
here, so I want to clarify. This is they have little mini buses.
And they'll come and get you and take you to the
Come and
doctor's
get you, take you to
appointment.
doctors. I mean, they provide a
Dial-a-ride.
wonderful service.
Yeah.
Dial-a-ride.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah, dial-a-ride. It's not GATRA's, well, it could be funded by GATRA, but it's
GATRA
dial-a-ride.
is a specific route. These are
Yes.
point A to B. There's-
Point A to B.
Yeah.
To answer your question there, clarification there?
All right.
Oh, by the way, I do have a question. Since we went through that,
Yeah.
there is line 101, a new role called grant coordinator.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's on page 12.
Yep.
So there is, correct, so there is a new job title called Grant Coordinator, and that is being funded through the opioid settlement funds. So it is an alternative funding source for that position.
Right.
So we are recruiting for that position, and the funding is outside of town meeting.
But don't
But it
think
wasn't-
in terms of a grant writer. Think in terms of somebody working specifically for the opioid community.
Yeah, it
Because
has to
it's
be
not in a-
linked.
It's never been discussed before.
Right.
In terms of our headcount increases, right? In terms of restorations.
And it's part-time,
new ads.
non-benefit eligible.
It's what?
Part-time, non-benefit eligible. I think
And
it's
it's not
like
part of-
12 hours a week.
It's not part of 5A,
It's
and it's not part of 5B.
No,
It's 12 hours a week, is that what you
12
said?
hours a week. But positions that are regularly scheduled are classified in order to be legally compliant, they're classified into grades 1 through 15. So that's why it appears in Article 4.
But it's really important that we make it clear that this is not funded within 5A and 5B, that there's an alternative funding source.
Well, I think it's very important that the residents also know that this is not a grant writer for the
No.
grants that,
Not at
this
all.
is very much linked to the opioid
Correct.
issue and services to assist. It's a very narrow
It is.
scope as to what you can use those funds for. So, I don't want people to look at this and go, well,
Yeah,
we're hiring a grant coordinator. That's
Right.
great. We don't have to worry about,
Right.
that.
Right.
But we do.
All right, any other comments or questions on Article 4? I don't see any. Mary, anything we need to address that you didn't get a chance to speak to
On Article 4?
on Article 4? Yeah. Okay, great. I'll have a motion, please.
I move that the Select Board supports and recommends the approval of March 14th, 2026 Annual Town Meeting Article Number 4, funding of salaries as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Rainey.
I'll see you later.
Okay.
Okay.
Next is Article 21, which we understand now is IP'd, given
Yep.
our vote earlier this evening.
You do need to vote to do that.
Yes, we need to IP it.
Please.
Can I ask a question
Okay,
about
sure.
this? This is about the battery storage.
No, this is
No,
21.
This is the speed limit
Speed
on
limit.
Tremont.
Sorry, I do have a question about the other one.
All right, so why don't we take a vote?
I move that the Select Board indefinitely postpone the
Recommend.
approval or no.
Vote to recommend
Yes.
indefinitely postpone it.
I move that the Select Board recommends to indefinitely postpone the Article
21.
21 of the March 14th, 2026 Annual Town Meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Oh, who beat the buzzer on that one?
Cindy, it's
All
always
right,
Cindy.
Cindy got the second on that one. Any discussion on the motion?
It's a break.
Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All's in favor?
Zones out.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the motion carries 5-0. Next is Article 18, amend zoning bylaw, new section 622, battery energy storage systems. Mr. Lampert is still there.
Of course I am.
Good. Before you start, Jim, Amy, go ahead, you have a procedural
So a
question.
procedural question, this is a planning board article. It sounds as if they have recommended to indefinitely postpone. However, Mr. Lambert had sent quite a compelling memo suggesting that the town was more protected as a whole with a slightly amended article. I think it eliminated the first sentence, and that was it. My question is, isn't that correct, Jim?
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, so my question is, now that the planning board, it's certainly their prerogative to recommend indefinite postponement, I'm typically not one to ever second guess, the planning board, but are we required to go along those lines, or?
I don't think so, no.
May I speak?
We have a question from Fernando first, and then,
Sure,
Jim, I'm
of
happy
course.
to go to you. Fernando, go right ahead.
I understand so, okay. Let's have the discussion first. If we're going to what we're saying, Amy, is that we make an amendment on the floor, or how do we do this?
Mr. Lambert provided a well-written memo today about, or at some point, about the pros and cons
Correct.
of the passing the article, eliminating one sentence and basically making it a town-wide bylaw instead of creating these very small areas in town in which this would apply. Basically providing, I think his point is well taken, I think this board struggled with it a little bit.
Yep.
How do we, I don't think any of us were looking to the detriment of people living in the PD zones. These things were allowed on some parcels and not others, maybe your neighbors and maybe yours, maybe not. This, Mr. Lambert's suggestion is, again, a town-wide approach that would provide everyone with equal protection that I'm not sure that we get if we indefinitely postpone, we have no protection.
Correct,
Right now. We're
correct,
kind of
correct.
flying blind. So that's what I'm hoping we can have a conversation about.
Right, but just talk about technicalities, right?
Right.
So I've looked through the memo, and Mr. Lambert's memo, and is, like I said, is very thorough, very detailed. What exactly are we going to discuss? What is the structure, or what is the article going to say that we're going to vote on and recommend? What is it going to say?
Before I
It's
have
going
Jim
to
go.
say exactly what they have is printed in the warrant, which is their existing article that puts the entire burden, and in fact, on the people who live in about 10% of the town, and invites building a vest there and provides utterly no protection to anybody else. The article, there it is, that's the one they presented. They may want to indefinitely postpone it, but that's the only one on the warrant.
Now, my question is, Amy, you said we just have to make a little change. What is it, the change that we need to do to this article to provide the protection that we're looking for? What do we need to do?
Do you want to defer to Jim on that? I think he
I
can
do.
explain
I think
it.
his memo,
Where?
Jim, you want to?
If you go to,
Where'd it come from?
It came from him.
it's on the, I guess, the last page of the memo, the article should be amended to provide real protection.
Page 4.
Can we do the following? I find this is really difficult. I wish we had a piece of paper that we could look at. Is this something that we can take a look at on Saturday morning with Mr. Lambert and Amy Questle or our town council to write it such that we can propose that at the town meeting?
I don't think we could rewrite it. I think that what the beauty of what Mr. Lambert was suggesting is that it was really, the deletion of one sentence would suffice, and would be within the scope of the, still within the scope of the article.
Okay,
I think I hear you, Fernando. It would be, I think it warrants a conversation, because again, what we're trying to do is protect our residents from these things.
Correct.
And if we can do that by way of Mr. Lambert's memo, I think that that would be a worthy cause, and I think we should also have town council weigh in.
Yeah. So I see the article, right? So it's 622 battery energy storage system, 622.1 purpose, definitions, applicability, location of zoning districts, general requirements. So you're basically just...
622.4A is probably the important section for that.
So basically, that's a section you are recommending we replace with...
I guess I have basically a couple of thoughts on this. I think you've got the article as it's printed in the warrant. And even though Planning Board, I think it's recognized some of the problems with it, has voted IP, my recommendation is that you should take at least a position, maybe more than one, with respect to that article. Fundamental position, at least in my view, is that it not approve, town meeting not approve that article for the reasons that everyone has discussed before. It's totally unfair to ask 10% of the town to bear the burden of best that frankly the article invites to be built in the PD and NB districts. And the rest of the article provides exactly the same protection to the rest of the town that our current bylaw does. And as we already found out on the West Street case, that means none. So my starting point is, my suggestion is that I would hope the board would take a position and recommend that it not be approved. There is then the second step, which is, at least as I've been analyzed these, you could provide, we're facing a headwind, let's be realistic. The state's going to shove this down our throats.
Jim, can I be blunt?
We
Jim,
don't want any, but we're going to have to live with some of this. So the second step, and I think it's an entirely different step, is whether at town meeting is the time to try to amend the article to provide something that, as I've looked at this, gives us about as much as protection as we can hope to have, or whether let the damn thing be IP'd, go back to the drawing board and present something to some future town meeting. And that's your decisions.
For me, can I?
Yes.
I would IP it and spend the time that we need to spend to figure out how to word this. I mean, I know that it...
But would you recommend that the town not approve this one? My guess, my
Yes.
basic understanding is that I think the town is entitled to your recommendation on what to do with this article. And if I'm understanding the tea leaves, it's pretty much, we recommend that it not be approved.
Not as written, correct.
But I'm a little confused. Can we go on record at town meeting as saying we're recommending not approving it, but also we're recommending to IP it? I mean, it seems to me just by recommending to IP it, to me seems that we're recommending not to approve it.
correct. We don't need to recommend, just by IPing, we're saying,
Right,
let's go back to the drawing board and take another look at it. That's
Right.
what IP means to me, right?
right. That's what I would, otherwise it gets...
I am fully prepared to tell people why they ought to dump this article at town meeting.
Jim, do you think there's any likelihood of being able to offer some language on the floor that gets us at least some level of protection while we work on this to make it better at some future town meeting? rather than go completely without. We know that there's a risk that these things could happen in Duxbury. It's not theoretical. We've already had one proposal. I'm concerned that if we do nothing, however imperfect, that we make ourselves a more attractive target than having at least some minimal level of protection. And if the language in the warrant doesn't provide that to us, then is there at least something we can do on town meeting floor that gets us half a loaf?
Let me take that in 2 steps. I think step number 1 is what we have now, if you look at it from a real world point of view, provides us at least the protection of time. Anybody who wants to build under our current bylaw that does not provide for building a BES anywhere is going to have to go through a rather extended and costly procedure to convince some court to allow it to do so. That court is likely to reach the same decision that the one did in the West Street case, but it's going to take a while. In terms of, let's have the second part of that again, Ryan. I'm forgetting where I was.
Jim, I can clarify this. Let's right down to the point here. Is there a way to redact this and make a motion on the town floor, or is this so poorly written that we cannot do that on the town floor?
My view is if you amend this article on the town floor simply to strike one sentence, that would give you an article that provides
So it would start the prohibiting.
protection, at least to the extent that we're providing any protection for the NB districts. And I assume that when Planning Board wrote all those conditions, they thought that those were about as good as they could do to provide real protection to those 2 districts, and it would make that protection available to the entire town.
What is that sentence, sir?
Okay.
That is, you strike, just a second, it's that first, basically, do you have my memo around?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Right here.
If you
we
look
did,
at the first page of the memo, all it does is to delete the first sentence of what is 622.4A in the article that's printed in the warrant.
So you would
all it
delete
was.
the word "subject to the requirements of this bylaw"? Is that the?
No, because
No.
basically, as
Yes.
that now reads, and I don't have it in front of me, it says it's prohibited in the RC districts.
What is
That
that?
strikes that sentence, which makes everything applicable to the entire town, and means that to build anywhere in the town, you would have to satisfy all the conditions that were provided for the NB districts, which hopefully are enough to really give us significant protection.
Okay.
I agree, but I don't, again, it's the semantics here. If we strike the first sentence, the article reads, "The prohibiting of BES in an overlay zoning district shall override the permitting of BES in a base zoning district." Is that,
Right.
is that what you want the article, is that what you're
Mine
proposing?
says something different.
No, what I am removing is the first sentence that I believe, and I don't have it in front of me
No,
at
it
the
doesn't.
moment, says that BESs are prohibited in the RC district.
So what I have, I'm so
And
sorry.
the present article, and I ought to have it in front of me. I
It
don't.
says, Jim, what it says in the
You're
warrant, right? Isn't that what
You're
you
in the
want?
warrant.
If you look at the warrant, I'll try to find my copy.
All right, you know, let me just maybe cut this short a little bit.
I think we should.
Here's what I propose. I'm optimistic there's an opportunity to pull the nose up on this thing.
Yep.
So that we can provide the town with some minimal level of protection,
Yep.
which is what we're after.
That's what I'm after.
And thanks to Jim's terrific work on this, I think there's an ability to do that on the floor of town meeting. For the purposes of tonight's agenda and our review of Article 18 and recommendation, my suggestion is that we continue this matter to our meeting that we customarily have on the morning of town meeting so that we can have the input of town council who will
Yes.
be there to make sure that what we're after in this case is possible, and then we can take such votes as are necessary, to Cindy's point earlier, that we don't confuse town meeting to say no to everything. It's no to this published approach in the warrant, but yes to an amended approach
Yep.
on town meeting floor. Jim, how does that sound?
I think that sounds fine. As you could tell from my memo and all the other stuff I've sent you, Amy and I have had a lot of back and forth on this, and I think we're pretty much in agreement that this darn thing, as we've got it, doesn't work, but yeah, you could make it work.
Okay.
Okay.
Could we ask Jim to provide us with exactly what you propose the appropriate language to be, so that we can
Make the amendment.
make
I
that?
will,
Amy,
I
can
was
I-
thinking today, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, that I'm very easy to write a motion to amend Article 18 to strike that section.
Great.
And that's all the motion would do.
Go ahead,
That's
Fernando.
it.
Yeah, can we just make sure that Amy Questle, our town council, and our land really drives this, please? Jim, I do appreciate all the work that you do. If you don't mind, I think it's really important that town council ensures that the language meets our needs, all right? And so that's my request would be. Jim?
No, I absolutely agree, Fernando. As you can tell, she and I have been going back and forth quite a lot, and I think we are in complete agreement. But let's nail this down and get it right.
Yep.
Okay, great. So what we'll do is we'll continue this matter to Saturday morning,
Yep,
and then we'll present our recommendation to town meeting at town meeting.
yeah. And
So we'll all be in the cafeteria Saturday morning.
correct. And the request, I know Rennie's not here, but Nancy, if you could pass on the message on behalf of the select board that Amy Questle does the work. Thank you.
Great. All right, thank you. I know that next we're looking at special town meeting warrant, but Demi has been very, very patient.
Very.
Sitting here all night, probably wondering why we ever stand in front of her store looking for signatures for this job.
If you mind, if you have nothing else for me, I think I'll sign off.
We're
Thank
great.
you,
Thanks,
Jim.
Jim.
Thank you,
Jim.
You're
And
welcome.
do we have Jim Sperber on the line? He's in-house counsel at Brothers. Without objection, I hope.
No,
we-
that's a
No
good idea.
objection.
Please.
All right.
He can speak, he declined to be promoted.
Okay.
Okay.
So Jim, if you need to jump in, we're okay, but I think you're in good hands with Demi. We've read the materials. This is change of a manager to you.
Correct, yes.
Maybe just give us a little bit of background as to what you did with the old manager and why we need a new one.
Oh, sure, yeah, so my name is Demi True. I'm currently the Assistant Store Director at Brothers Marketplace on Depot Street. I have been in my role for a year and a half there now as acting manager. The previous manager, he left the company, so there's need for me to step into that role. Previously, before working for Brothers, I have worked with in the alcohol industry. I managed a wine and spirit store in Situate, so I've been tip certified for many years, and we train our employees to be the same.
Great.
All right.
Do we have any questions from the board?
I don't.
Okay, any other questions? I don't see any hands raised. It's pretty straightforward. This is administrative. We do appreciate you being here tonight and explaining that, and for all the great work that Brothers does in the community. May I have a motion?
I move that the Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority, approves the change of manager to new manager Debbie True for RBSBW Inc., DBA Brothers Marketplace, located at 46 Depot Street, license number 8983-PK-0300, subject to requirements of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Thanks for sticking with us tonight.
I know.
Thank you.
Great.
Why
Thank
do
you
we
very
have to
much.
wait so long for that?
Good luck.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
And we got the yacht club,
Yeah,
right?
do we have Blake Doyle available? Or any applicant for the yacht club?
No,
All right. So, well, you know what? What's everybody here for? Anything in particular? To
Oh,
see
that's
me.
nice.
Bettina or Susan, is it something in particular you're here for that we can get to? Or are you just hanging out in the peanut gallery?
The fun of
Okay.
it.
For fun.
All right.
You're lying.
All right.
Actually, I'm here to say thank you to Nancy.
All
If you
right.
want to know the truth.
Yeah.
I heard you
All right, sweet.
that, and I appreciate all that you do.
So Susan Schofield was just thanking Nancy O'Connor again, and we got a much deserved second round of applause.
Yeah.
All right, so in that case, let's just go back to where we were. This is now discussion and possible vote on Select Board article recommendations in the March 14, 2026 special town meeting warrant. This will be presented by Mary McKinnon, the Finance Director. And we're looking at Articles 1 and 4. Number 1, starting with supplemental appropriations.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Oh, requires a handout. That's never
Yes.
good.
We've seen
I
this
figured it
before.
would be easier if I gave you a handout, which
okay,
is why I left a
Yeah.
little while
Oh,
ago
okay.
to go
I
make
thought it was updated.
Thank you, Mary.
especially because Fernando, as you just mentioned a moment ago, sometimes it's easier to have paper in front of you.
Yes.
Yes.
So, all right.
Can't find what we're looking for. I
Okay,
know.
fantastic.
Me too,
all right.
but it's.
Floor is yours.
Fantastic.
some of
So
the trees were
at your
failed.
last meeting, we touched upon briefly these two particular articles for special town meeting, and we were awaiting the final results of the, or tally of the cost impact with respect to snow and ice removal for Storm Hernando. And so I'm going to ask you this evening to vote your recommendations for Article 1 and Article 4. They are interrelated, so if I may just sort of start from the top and discuss this, and then I'll let you guys make your recommendations whichever way you wish. But at the time that the town meeting warrant article for supplemental appropriations was being prepared, it was back in late January, early February, and at that time, Storm Hernando, our most recent snow event, was not on the horizon. But at that time, we did have a deficit in the snow and ice removal account for some previous storms that the town had incurred. So at the time when the warrant article was prepared, $200,000 was estimated to cover the snow and ice deficit. Since then, we have endured the wrath of Storm Hernando, and that was a significant event that I know that this board has discussed. But as a result of that, the town has incurred significant costs with respect to snow and ice removal for that week-long event. And if you look at, and so let me just jump to the punchline and then I'll explain it. So the number for Article 1 is now being increased from $200,000 to $703,969. So an increase of $503,000 in order to cover the deficit that the town has incurred for Storm Hernando, as well as to provide a small buffer for any additional salting events that we may incur between now and the end of the fiscal year. Very small. So if you flip to page 3 of the handout that I provided for you, what you see here is a history of our snow and ice accounts, and where we've had to dedicate additional supplemental appropriations or any reserve fund or year-end transfers. So it's not uncommon that we have this situation where we need to backfill our snow and ice budget. But if you look in the lower left-hand corner, what I have itemized for you is the general cost impacts from this most recent storm, amounting to the direct impacts so far have amounted to a little over $450,000, and you'll see that this transfer includes an additional $57,000 that will cover 2 to 3 potentially salting events, should we have them between now and the end of the fiscal year.
What if we need to be plowed?
Then we're going to have to pivot, and this is the only account that we are legally allowed to deficit spend. So if there are additional events, we will need to remedy them in a different fashion, whether it's a reserve fund transfer or some other mechanism.
This was a very expensive storm.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It's crazy.
But I do.
Just
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Mike.
we'll start with Mike.
So, during the storm, I gave a call to Congressman Keating's office, and his office mentioned that they were going to pass along some paperwork for federal disaster relief. Has that been passed along? How does that work, and when do we get reimbursements on that if it's declared?
So on this same sheet, I included a note about possible FEMA reimbursement. So I'll explain to you where we stand with that situation. The state of Massachusetts and the governor declared a state of emergency, which opens up the opportunity for potential federal disaster relief. We have worked with the MEMA agency, and MEMA had provided for all of us, every community that was impacted, a public assistance workbook where we had to declare all of the expenses, including property damage that we have incurred as a result of that storm. The deadline for filing that submission with MEMA, and it was called the IDA, the Initial Damage Assessment. The deadline to submit that was last Friday, March 6th. So all of our department heads who were impacted, we all worked collectively in order to prepare and to submit that to FEMA.
Excellent.
However, there are a couple of thresholds that need to be met before the state can even apply for federal disaster relief. There is an overall state threshold that the state needs to meet in terms of costs incurred of $13.6 million. And so if the state as a whole incurred more than $13.6 million, then that's step one of the threshold testing. Then every county has their own established or prescribed threshold. And Plymouth County, so this is a chart, it's not in your workbook, but I can share it if you need to. Plymouth County's threshold was $2.5 million. And so what that means is the county has to meet their threshold in order to be counted towards the state threshold. So not every county in the state of Massachusetts is going to meet their threshold, and therefore their dollars will not count towards the state threshold. However, the counties that do meet theirs, all of their dollars, as well as any excess, will count to the state threshold. And once the state meets that test, then they are eligible to apply to the federal government according to the Stafford Act in order to request for federal relief. And then the president needs to approve it. So it is not a fait accompli. And the state of Massachusetts is actively working on it. It is a public assistance disaster relief request, which is the same type of assistance that was utilized during the COVID pandemic. And so the town has supplied that information. With respect to the FEMA reimbursement, you are also allowed to claim the use of our equipment in addition to the direct expenses that we listed here to cover for the snow and ice deficit. So what that means is the people that were driving our trucks were allowed to claim an hourly rate for the use of those vehicles. In addition to that, we also included some of the property damage that the town had incurred as a result of this storm. That property damage may end up being covered by insurance claims, but we want to list it on the form in case it doesn't, so that it can be included for consideration. So if the disaster relief does materialize, then the town stands to receive up to 75% reimbursement of eligible costs. So our total claim that we submitted to FEMA was $1.1 million. So it included the use of the vehicles as well as property damage in addition to the snow and ice deficit. So we will work very closely with the Commonwealth in order to track the progress and the status of that FEMA reimbursement, and we are hoping for sure that we do see some relief.
Thanks for your hard work and the department heads for jumping on that.
It does seem that the reimbursement or the success of getting reimbursed is contingent upon a lot of other things, like other towns. The first hurdle is, do we know if our neighbors were able to get their submission in before the last Friday deadline? Do we have any knowledge? Because without those factors, you're not going to hit the Plymouth threshold, you're not going to hit the state threshold, and you're not going to get the funds. So do we know?
So I can tell you that a number of, I don't know definitively, Amy, but I can tell you that a number of our colleagues in our neighboring communities all participated in the same series of webinars describing this process. And I did speak directly with the finance director in Plymouth, and their intent was to make sure that their submission was submitted on time. My guess is between the town of Plymouth and the town of Duxbury, those
your
two alone
threshold.
would have met the
Probably
Plymouth
just
County
Plymouth,
threshold.
yeah.
So any other community would have been sort of, additional on the top.
Frosting on the cake.
They got sucked.
Is it just,
No,
oh,
go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Cindy.
no, I'm
No,
sorry.
Cindy, go ahead.
No, I'm just, is that the only avenue of potential reimbursement is?
It's interesting that you asked that question. So I have been in touch with Rep. Sweezy's aide and asked that question, and he was going to chase down some information for me. However, I did participate in my MMA fiscal policy meeting this afternoon where this very issue came up. And the state is contemplating, the MMA organization is contemplating petitioning the governor for some WRAP assistance, which WRAP, which has been provided before via state budgets for extreme conditions, and that is the Winter Recovery Assistance Program. So sometimes the state of Massachusetts makes additional dollars available to local communities. That has not been included in any one of the governor's budgets yet, but it may in the future.
Excellent.
So I'm chasing down as many opportunities as I possibly can.
If we can be of assistance, let us know if we need to write a letter or something like that. We're happy to do that.
Will do.
Thank you.
Speaking for.
So with that being said.
I just have a clarification on this
sure.
handout. So basically, I can see where the 703,969 number comes from. You have another table on the other side, which has the bottom line. It says surplus 369,135. Could you possibly explain that table, please?
Absolutely. Do you have shading on the copies that I have handed out to you?
No.
Okay, so if you look at right here, I'm just going to point. This
Yes.
is actually shaded the last, under the salaries column
Yes.
and actual expenses. And my note right below it says that this is the year-to-date expenses as of March 9th. It does not include the posting of all of our invoices and all of our
Okay.
payroll with respect to this current snowstorm.
Right, so what does surplus mean?
A budget appropriation left available in that account.
Okay.
But I am expecting that 369 is going to be further reduced because not all of our expenses for this storm have yet posted to our accounting records.
So I'm trying to reconcile then, you've got budget and actual. So
Yep.
So basically, we're going to increase our budget to 909,519.
Correct.
All right, but to date, we've only captured 540,
Correct.
and we are basically going to capture a lot more up to close to the 909. That's what you're saying, right?
Correct.
All right, good, thank you.
Correct.
Other questions?
So where's the funding coming from? So the funding source for Article 1 and the funding source for Article 4 are both free cash. So given the significant increase in our snow and ice deficit, what we are proposing is to reduce the funding being utilized for Article 4 and use it in Article 1. So the motion for Article 4, and I've included the
Yes.
motions in your packet.
Yep.
So the motion for Article 4 is going to be reduced from 653,969
Yep.
down to 150. So a transfer of 150,000 into the stabilization account, and that the other proceeds to be used in Article 1.
But it still doesn't cover the original 200, right? There's a gap of 500, right? So
It does,
what's the
because
math?
the other,
Where's
it
the
does.
other?
The other 200 was already accounted for.
It's already accounted for. Okay, so the math adds up. then.
It does. The
Thank you, Mary.
maths.
But,
Yeah.
not to get too far ahead, but, so what you're saying is in Article 4,
Yes,
instead of 653,969, it's 150?
that is correct.
It's on the last page, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct, right here.
And that is not our desired course of action, but this is the reality that we are facing
No,
in
understood,
order to address.
understood. All right, well, why don't we'll get to that in a second. All
And
right.
Mike has
So,
a question.
is-
Can we not talk about those out of order? Because I have a question on the same vein.
Do we want to vote on them individually, or?
I just have a
Is that what
question
our
about
motion
that.
is?
yeah, individually, yes,
So
correct.
Brian,
Yeah, go ahead.
so if we're dropping that to 150 and we're short $500,000, will that affect the statement here about maintaining at levels that will likely appeal to bond rating agencies, enjoying a Standard & Poor's rating, Standard & Poor's rating of AAA?
So so I can't speak definitively for Standard & Poor's, but what I can tell you is that Standard & Poor's, it looks favorably on communities who make an annual contribution to their stabilization fund. So this checks that box in order to continue to make that transfer. I will tell you that I have a bond rating call with Standard & Poor's on Thursday.
Great.
And we will find out their feedback on that particular issue. But again, making sure that the town continues to focus on some transfer to stabilization and building up of our reserves is traditionally looked on favorably by bond rating agencies.
But I think your conversation is, we originally planned 250, but a freaking storm came our way, right?
And they are
So-
well aware.
So we're trying to do our best, right? So
Exactly.
hopefully they, like I say, they react favorably.
Exactly. Meeting our obligations
Yes.
is their number one concern.
What, yeah, absolutely.
With-
That's a
with
good,
respect
that's a
to
good
these.
point. I'd approach it the exact same way.
Yeah.
The replenishment of the stabilization fund that was used at special town meeting last year, the 404,000, if we don't plug that back in, what does that do for the existing stabilization? In other words, do we anticipate needing funds from the stabilization fund for anything else in the fiscal 27 budget, that not putting the 403 back is going to hamper us?
Not
$1 million.
Not that I am aware of, no.
Okay.
So as of June 30th, 2025, which was our last completed audit, the balance in the stabilization account was 7.4 million, almost 7.5 million. That's prior to the transfer, so about 7 million. And no, we do not anticipate any additional uses of the stabilization for this coming town meeting. That being said, it was our anticipation to be able to replenish the stabilization account, as we had all talked about, because we know we don't like to use one-time monies to support our operating expenses. What we need to do is make sure that this continues to stay on our radar and that we are, fiscally disciplined, so that next year when we look at these things, we again contemplate the opportunity to replenish that use of stabilization as well as our annual contribution.
Right.
Can
I
I?
don't-
Did that answer your
Oh,
question,
No, go
Mike?
ahead, Amy.
All right. Go
Well,
ahead.
it's not about, I mean, it's a little bit not off topic, but I just wondered about the cost of the storm. I'm still stunned at how much money this cost. And I know that the town was able to reach out to the National Guard and MEMA and get equipment in here to help. Are those costs incorporated in here?
So with respect to the MEMA assistance that a number of communities around us also received as well. We do not pay out of pocket for the cost of the service or those trucks. That's included in the state budget. But the only cost that we did incur was making sure that the staff were fed. So there was catering expenses.
So even with
Or
that
pizzas and subs.
assistance.
Yeah.
that-
I won't call
Not
it catering,
fancy,
but
I
yeah.
know.
That's fair.
So even with that assistance, that storm cost us more than $500,000.
That is correct. It was a very, very severe storm. Yes.
It was.
Very severe. And then the ironic part with Mother Nature is a couple of days later, the sun was out and the rain came and washed most of it away.
Any questions on Articles 1 or 4 in the
No,
supplemental?
just a comment. I mean, we do have a meeting on Saturday. If something goes sideways with that conversation with our bond agency,
I don't anticipate it, but I will certainly
thank you.
let you
Let
know.
us know.
All right. Great.
Okay.
May I have one or more motions, please?
I'll do the first motion on the supplemental appropriations. I move that Select Board supports and recommends the approval of March 14, 2026 special town meeting Article 1 supplemental appropriations in the sum of $703,000 and $703,969.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries 5-0. Article 4.
I move that Select Board supports and recommends the approval of the March 14, 2026 special town meeting Article 4 stabilization fund in the amount of $150,000.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mary.
Mary.
Thank you very
Great
much,
job.
Mary.
Next, we're turning our attention back to liquor licenses. This is discussion and vote on liquor license, change of manager, Duxbury Yacht Club, 70 Fairway Lane and 489 Washington Street. I don't believe we have an applicant to present this evening, but we have materials in our packet. Any questions or discussion on the application for a change of manager?
So kind of a question for Nancy. So it was all the forms fully submitted and it's all above board and they've done what they've meant to do? Okay.
This is basically administrative.
Yeah.
They just have another person that's more suitable to be the manager.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Great. May I have a motion?
I move that Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority, approves the change of manager to new manager Blake Doyle for the Duxbury Yacht Club located at 489 Washington Street, license number 00042-CL-0300, and at 70 Fairway Lane, license number 00041-CL-0300, subject to requirements of the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote.All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries 5-0. We will skip the town manager's report and move to,
Well, we have the,
We have the,
oh, sorry, I skipped over the
Mike McGee.
discussion and vote regarding letters of support regarding beach management and recreation bills, specifically House 5139, House 5140, and House 5141, presented by our own Mike McGee. Mike, the floor is yours.
I will be brief, but this is certainly a matter of importance. I want to thank our state representative, Kenneth Sweezy, for filing these bills and advocating on our community's behalf last Wednesday before this Joint Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Also want to thank Save Duxbury Beach, Andrew Marshall, for also testifying, and Chris Kennedy, their consultant, did a fantastic job, and Mr. Kennedy also submitted an excellent letter full of pertinent information from doing this firsthand for a living for a number of years. And today I did notice that it was in the Herald as well. So this is getting some positive press, and I would recommend to this board endorsing this letter. I can do it. You know what? We've all seen it, right?
We've all seen it. Why don't you read it?
It's about, okay, I will. I was looking at the hour, but I'm not, would all of you,
This is important.
would all of you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I think it's important for the community to know, because I don't think everybody in town is aware
Yeah.
that these three bills are moving forward, and if adopted by the
Yeah.
legislature, will provide some much-needed relief for access to Duxbury Beach.
Understood. And okay. Dear committee members, the Duxbury Select Board enthusiastically supports the following legislation filed by State Representative Ken Sweezy. House Bill H5139, an act establishing a review process of guidelines for managing recreational use of beaches to protect piping plovers, terns, and their habitats. House Bill H140, an act creating parity among Massachusetts beaches. House Bill H5140, an act promoting recreation on Massachusetts beaches. By way of background, the town of Duxbury has a yearly lease agreement with Duxbury Beach Reservation, DBR, so the public may enjoy recreation on the beloved 7.5-mile barrier beach. The town also sells seasonal beach stickers to residents and non-residents. DBR holds a permit with the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, Mass Wildlife, to allow use of the beach while piping plovers and terns are present. The town and DBR collaboratively share responsibilities to ensure compliance with the terms of the permit so the public may enjoy a short New England beach season. House Bill H5139 provides two critical components. This is the first of them. First, Mass Wildlife will be required to review their guidelines. Guidelines are not regulations, much less law. However, Mass Wildlife has often incorporated guidelines into DBR's permit, the compliance of which is required to keep the beach open. The guidelines are also outdated and should be reviewed at least biannually. That this House bill requires Mass Wildlife to consult with the beach managers would ensure the guidelines are consistent with balancing recreation and protecting federally listed species. Additionally, the bill's notice and hearing provisions promote necessary public engagement and transparency. House Bill H-140's requirement to prevent Mass Wildlife from prohibiting or excluding any beach management from utilizing all legally authorized shorebird nesting migration tools is a matter of fairness. For example, DBR has requested mitigation to deter shorebirds from nesting near crossover access to Duxbury Beach. It has been effective, and DBR has requested additional acreage to deter nesting at other locations. However, Mass Wildlife has capped the acreage of deterrence because other beaches also utilize this mitigation technique. This is unacceptable. Access to one beach is no more important than access to another beach. Requiring Mass Wildlife not to impose restrictions on overland vehicle access or other recreational activities beyond that of species listed as endangered or threatened species, as required by House Bill H5140, should be of paramount concern to this committee. For more than a decade, as a result of such restrictions and an increased shorebird population, Duxbury has sustained considerable financial harm. Beach sticker revenue has declined because of resident dissatisfaction. The town has employed professional beach management staff to ensure compliance with the permit. Most notably, our local businesses have suffered revenue loss due to extended beach closures. Mass Wildlife must be limited to cause no more financial harm nor harm to quality of life than is indirectly caused by the Federal Endangered Species Act. The Duxbury Select Board appreciates your consideration of these important bills and respectfully requests you expeditiously move them forward in the legislative process. Sincerely, the town of Duxbury Select Board.
Amy?
I just want to ask a procedural question.
Sure.
So this letter, this proposed letter, is being sent to Chair Christine Barber, Joint Committee on Environmental and Natural Resources. What role, if these bills are being proposed by members of the House of Representatives, what role does the Joint Committee on Environmental and Natural play here? So we're reaching out to them. I'm just trying to
This is
understand
before the
process.
committee, whether to move it beyond the committee. And they solicited testimony, and they allowed 2 weeks for people to file a letter of support or comment. And a number of people, individuals, sent letters in support of the bills, and we are
Who's on the committee? What's the committee? Who makes up this committee?
State
Other
representatives.
State reps? Okay, so
It's a joint committee, so it must be state representatives and senators, I would assume.
It's, let me see, Senator Roush
Yeah.
and Senator Fernandez are the Senate members, and the House members are Representative Barber and Representative Cataldo. And then there are a number of members in the Senate and House of Representatives that are on the committee. Representative Sweezy is among them. Does that answer your question? And then Chris
Yes,
Fernandez got a
thank
question.
you.
Go ahead,
So it's
Fernando.
currently in committee.
Okay, got it.
Hey, Mike, the paragraph that begins House Bill H5139, the penultimate sentence, I'm trying to read it, I think there's something missing, that this House bill requires Mass Wildlife to consult with the beach managers would ensure the guidelines are consistent with
What
balancing
paragraph? I'm
recreation.
sorry, where are you, Fernando?
Paragraph beginning House Bill H 5139. I'm looking at
provides-
that paragraph. I'm looking at the penultimate sentence, which starts that this House bill requires Mass Wildlife to consult with the beach managers would ensure the guidelines are consistent with balancing recreation and protecting federally listed species. The
There's
beach
something
managers
wrong.
would ensure, there's something not quite right with that,
Yep.
that
agreed.
language.
Needs
What are
to-
you trying to say?
I believe I meant to say, I meant to take off that. I think I had a stronger phraseology, and I took out the last piece, the last word. I was probably going to say something with like a paramount concern or something like that, but it should just read, this House bill requires Mass Wildlife.
Good catch, Fernando.
Yeah,
To consult with the beach managers,
right.
and full stop.
Is, would,
It doesn't
what
make
is-
sense there.
This House bill requires Mass Wildlife to consult with the beach managers.
To ensure the
To ensure the
guidelines?
guidelines.
Oh, you know what? It's just the difference between an are and an is.
Hey?
If you look in the middle of the, so that this House bill requires Mass Wildlife to consult with the beach managers would ensure the guidelines.
No.
No, it still doesn't work.
Still doesn't work.
All right, I already worked that
There's a
one.
couple of, why I had asked, and is the tone of it, this is unacceptable in another, I'm not sure who these, I want to make sure I understand the
Sure.
audience, so I understand the tone that we're sending.
Yep.
I think that the points are great. And questioning the using capping acreage, because this is here and this is there, and I just want to make sure that we get the tone, the most effective tone that we can for the audience.
So what you're saying, basically, you're saying this is unacceptable is a little bit too emotive?
I don't know. I just throwing it out there.
I just to go back to that sentence, I think it is grammatically correct.
I don't think
Really?
so.
No.
I don't think so.
So that this House bill requires Mass Wildlife to consult with the beach managers would ensure the guidelines are consistent with balancing recreation and
But that's,
It doesn't say still.
protecting federal listed species.
no, no.
No.
To consult with the beach managers would ensure
So that the
that
consult.
this House bill requires Mass Wildlife to consult with the beach managers.
Would
Starting
ensure.
with that is just a
Maybe
Oh,
get it
well,
rid
Sure
of,
that the guidelines are
mean-
consistent.
It's a
Okay.
way of starting a sentence.
Get rid
You
of
don't
this.
like it that way.
we don't like it that
We,
way.
we think it sucked, Mike.
I love it. I think it
Nice.
flows nicely. And
What
it
would you-
rolls right off my tongue, so I'm sorry.
I got stuck on it too.
Basically, it's our
I
letter.
can make it more declarative.
Yeah.
What would we like to say?
That this House bill requires Mass Wildlife to consult with the beach managers and ensure the guidelines are consistent with balancing recreation, protecting federally listed species.
could I make another suggestion?
you can make it, yeah.
Should this House bill pass, that's the outcome, right? That you're saying is if this House bill were to pass, then Mass Wildlife would consult with beach managers and ensure that the guidelines.
Yeah, I can say that.
I mean,
It's fine.
you want to
just
work
don't
on it?
You don't like the starting a sentence with that.
Well,
No, it's not that,
think
it's the
it's-
would.
it's-
Beach managers would
I'm
ensure
not
the
sure it's the
guidelines.
R, the would, the
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that.
Wood is important because it's. all right.
So anyway,
Let me just
It's getting late.
frame us.
If you don't like that sentence, I can fix it.
Let me just frame it for a second, because.
We only have, we have
this
till
is-
Wednesday.
Yeah, this is our last meeting, unless we want to deal with this in the
No.
morning of town meeting, which I'm
No.
sure we won't.
No, we do
We don't
not.
have time.
This is due no later than the 18th.
Oh, okay.
So I want to make sure, and we're not going to have another meeting.
Correct.
At least here, between now and then. And I want to make sure, number one, are we all in agreement that we're supporting these three bills? I certainly am.
Yeah.
I just, my issue as an environmentalist is
Yes.
I think what you're trying to do is to make it so that we're not protecting the lease terms by saying that it needs to be either an endangered or
Threatened species.
threatened species.
The least terns are not threatened.
Are birds of special concern.
Correct.
And then they're protected so that they do not become, they're recovering, but they're not at the point that they can just be let go, so to speak. So I do have a bit of a problem with that. I understand, and I am very much in favor of beach parity. I'm in favor of being able to do mitigation to a larger portion of the beach. And I'm in favor of the, Mass Wildlife being required to look at their rules and regulations, periodically. I'm all with that. I'm just personally a little bit concerned. I'm not going to vote no on it, but I just want to go out there to say that I'm concerned about the lack of protection here for least terns.
I think that was well said. Are there any unintended consequences
Yes.
here?
Yes, yeah,
Is there anything else?
This is, and I had asked, and I'm happy to forward it to you through Nancy, the public comment by Christopher Kennedy. I think he's been doing this for decades, wrote the guidelines, was on that, and I think his comments were excellent. It's just common sense, a lot of this.
But Chris Kennedy, Mass Wildlife, or is he, what is he?
He's a consultant for Save Duxbury Beach, but he also is a beach manager.
I know, but I mean.
Yes, but he's not on the wildlife portion of it. He's on the,
I think he's balanced, but I know what you're saying. I understand, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Cindy.
Can we just think?
Your concerns are valid.
Add the language then, the species list is endangered, threatened species, or what was the wording?
species of special concern, but they're specifically trying to write that out. This is what this is for.
Oh,
is
they're trying to
out.
write that out?
Yes.
It's not write it out, it's simply making that
It's
making
writing
that
it.
statement, but it would write it out.
It is writing it out.
It would.
It is writing it out.
That is, okay, well, yeah,
Well,
let's have this conversation.
It's
'cause
been
I-
overused by the regulators to
Actually,
the detriment, well, let me just finish.
Okay, yeah.
It's been overused by the regulators to the detriment of those who want to use Duxbury Beach over our very short season.
You know what?
So if
Oh,
they,
yeah,
if
that
they
was-
hadn't overplayed the hand, I don't know that we would necessarily have to push back so hard, but I do think that it's necessary to rebalance the priorities out there.
I'm going to basically recuse myself from, I'm not going to vote on this. I'm going to recuse myself from this vote
Because,
because
You could just abstain.
I'll abstain from voting.
Yeah.
I'll abstain from voting.
You can
I will not
recuse
vote,
yourself if you want,
I will
but that
not
usually
vote
means you have a
on this one.
conflict.
I'll abstain. But like Cindy, I'm a environmentalist as well, even though I did work for the oil and gas industry. And my daughter is a contractor right now with Mass Wildlife, what's it called again? Mass Wildlife? Yeah, Mass Wildlife. And I had the opportunity to chat with her about this concern with regarding to species that, you use the right word, Cindy, remind me again?
Special concern.
Listed as special concern. So, anyway, so I will abstain from voting on this.
okay.
Okay, well, now we're getting down, so,
What we'd like to say on the language then, in that case?
Is there something you would like me to strike from this?
Well, I think that, because
Like
I would
that,
also.
you said there was, I'm sorry, I apologize. I meant
You-
to ask Amy what she wanted me to
Oh,
strike, the
okay,
strong
sorry.
language.
Go ahead. He's asking you.
There was, you said there was like there was a sentence that you thought was too strong.
well, this is unacceptable is a strong, I mean, we can look at that, and in, in the first paragraph at the end, we had, it might be better to say, enjoy the short New England beach season. It's not a short, it's always short, but this makes it even shorter. So I think that's what you're trying, I mean, there's some wordsmithing, and that's fine. But I think the bigger, I always like to start at the top down and then get down in the weeds. We started in the weeds and we're working our way up, because what I'm hearing is that the overarching issue here is that this removes from the list of concerned species these terms. No, it doesn't.
It just says that, so just to phraseology. The terns are listed as a species of special concern. They're included in our permit now because of that. This would potentially, I probably get this wrong. I think this is probably a better question for the experts, but I'll just keep these two separate. That's one thing. What this says here is, and I don't have it right in front of me, but it's asking them to not impose restrictions on overstand vehicle access or other recreational activities beyond that of species listed as endangered or threatened species. That's what the House bill would say. So not adding in the myriad of other animals that are listed as animals of special concern. That is a special category that Massachusetts has only.
I understand. I struggle with this as well, similar to, certainly, I'm a tree hugger from way back, and that includes the birds, I get it, that they're interfering, but I guess I also don't understand the significance of what the term what are they?
Special concern.
Special concern. What does that mean? Are they on the edge?
I think that's the big question that everybody has is why do they stay on this list of special concern? How do they create, how do they not come off? When do they come off? And
if they're not looking at their rules and regs.
Those are experts that answer those questions.
Good.
I don't have it off the top of my head, but if you go to Mass Wildlife, it's clearly here why certain species, from insects to plants to birds, are on various different categories. And I was reading it the other day, and as I said, I can't summarize for you right now. Thank you. But it's clearly listed. It can easily be known, is what I'm saying. It's here online, and it's not an unknown. So.
Sure. Just before you speak, I want to make sure that we're clear up here as to what we want to wordsmith in the letter.
Well, I also, can I just, is that this came up at our meeting last week, which is the first time I heard of it. I did not know that Representative Sweezy was putting these in.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had that, and then we have tonight's meeting on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't seem like a whole lot of time for us to clearly, take the time to do the research on it and then discuss it and then wordsmith a letter. So I'm feeling a little bit stuck here. I'm certainly in favor of having greater access to the beach, but not at the expense of the natural world, so to speak. It's how entitled are we as people versus how much do we want to, save the world, And so that's what I'm struggling with. The letter starts with the select board enthusiastically supports, and that word in and of itself was something that was sort of a issue for me.
All right, we could.
So, I'm sorry, I really am. I'm sorry because I think it's an important issue. I just wish we had more time to talk about it so we would know what it is that we're voting on.
But I think that we all can agree, without getting into the wordsmith, because I'm not sure we're all in agreement with the intention of the thing. We need to discuss whether we're in favor of this concept of sending a letter. I do support legislation that clearly, they need to be reviewing these rules and regulations at least every year or every, and the numbers of, what are we protecting? Are we sure that we're protecting things that need protecting? am very much in support of that, and, taking steps to, while protecting the birds, allow as much access as we possibly can. So I don't say, yep, nope, I don't agree with this. I do agree, but not so much at the cost. If the cost is, one against the other, that's a tough call. But I think we can do both. I think we can say that. We can even say, while, Duxbury is full of, residents that are all about I mean, that's the first thing in the surveys that we send out. Protect our, rural and historical character, protect the environment. I mean, I think we are there, and I think if you set that tone along with these reasonable bills that have that allow for that balance, I think that's a good approach.
Brian, I've come up with the definition. Can I read it out?
Please,
It's very
sir.
short. So, species of special concern is any species of plant or animal which has been documented by biological research and inventory to have suffered a decline that could threaten the species if allowed to continue unchecked, or that occurs in such small numbers or with such a restricted distribution or specialized habitat requirements that it could easily become threatened within Massachusetts. So that's what that is.
Okay. So where I'm, and Ms. Curtis, I'm happy to hear from you in just a sec. Where I'm coming out is we're looking to send a letter in support. Are we there? Are we in support generally of the law, the bills? And there are 3 of them. I'm happy. They're very short, and I'm happy to just read them so everybody's aware of what we're talking about. The first is House Bill 5139, and it's 3 short sections, and simply says, Section 1, the Massachusetts Department of Fish and Game, through the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, shall conduct a review of their guidelines for managing recreational use of beaches to piping plovers, terns, and their habitats in Massachusetts not less than once every 2 years. Section 2, in conducting the required review under Section 1, the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife shall actively consult with all applicable municipal or regional beach managers responsible for the oversight and enforcement of said guidelines. And finally, Section 3, the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife shall convene at least 2 public hearings during each review period and solicit public comment. Notice of the hearing shall be posted no fewer than 14 days in advance, and such hearing shall be held within an applicable community, provided, however, that no single community shall host the hearing in 2 consecutive review periods. That's Bill 5139. How do we feel about that?
Fine.
I agree with that.
I can sign that.
Okay, so we're okay with the text of 5139.
Yes.
If we next move to, and forgive me, I'm
Here.
going through the Massachusetts Legislature's website here. Oh, do you have them handy? Okay, great. Article. I have article on the brain.
We all do.
House Bill 5140.
Oh, there's a typo here, and then there's a letter as well. It's got H140. It should be
There is
5140.
here.
Okay.
Where is the line? I don't see the language.
It's just that it's all it is. An act
Yeah, but
creating
there's,
parity.
let me
think.
look that up. I think there's language to it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I will find it, because all 3 of them are pretty short.
I do have
It's going to be quicker to...
41, though. There is that one.
Okay. Come on.
Do you have the language?
5140.
All right. 5140, I've got it right here. As soon as it
Human.
opens. Text. Come on.
No, oh,
All right, this is
There
the
it is.
entire text of
Yes.
5140. Notwithstanding any general or special law to the contrary, the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife shall not prohibit or exclude any beach management program from utilizing all legally authorized shorebird nesting mitigation tools available under available under the Massachusetts Habitat Conservation Plan. That's the entire bill.
Really?
Yes.
Do we have
So
any?
that must be because they're saying because another beach does it here, you can't do it here.
Right.
So
Well, like,
that's
there's
to
so
get
many-
around that.
Right.
Okay, I agree with that.
It's
I have
not
no problem
creating
with that.
parity among Massachusetts
Yep.
So
beaches.
do they, what's the reasoning behind, why does Mass Wildlife do this, right? Where they say you cannot use the deterrence because somebody else is using the deterrence. Did they give you any reason why they're doing that?
And I'm not going to try to be flippant here, but these requests generally are just just straight rejections. You know, we've got so many acreages, we've gotten our HCP. The other towns are using the acreages. You can't use more than whatever it is, 5 now or 4. I forgot what it is. And I'm not going to go through it. I've been living this for 5 years.
Right.
And, you know, working collaboratively with DBR to try to take advantage of any opportunities
Right.
that arise, amend their permit, I should say. And we've sat with the folks from Mass Wildlife. This is just one example. It's the most recent of the examples. You've probably seen them out there with the pallets and
Yeah.
that was the acreage. It worked.
Yeah.
Except that the birds go
Somewhere else.
Right.
somewhere else.
Okay, I'm
You know.
fine with that one.
If that's all it says, right?
That was it. I read the whole thing.
That's all.
Okay,
you know,
well, I'm
so-
okay with that.
Yep.
And then the last one, 5141, which is probably the most impactful directly. And again, I got to read the entire bill verbatim. They're very short. Notwithstanding any general or special law to the contrary, the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife shall not restrict oversand vehicle access or other recreational activities on Massachusetts beaches on the basis of species that are not listed as endangered or threatened under the Federal Endangered Species Act. And then it references the statutory reference to the federal legislation by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service.
So that's the one. That's the one that's hard because you have these animals that are, or birds that are of concern or, you know, slightly less than endangered, so you're,
I don't feel competent to make that decision. I think that's what it comes down to. If Massachusetts calls them a species of special concern, I don't feel that me sitting here can say, well, we don't care about that part of it. I would want a lot more information in order to be able to say that. I'm not saying that it's not true, but between now, you know, I mean, I don't know, and I don't have the background.
Well, I can say that I've gone to public forums. I've also sat during these meetings. The person that has determined that they should remain on that list works for Mass Wildlife and also addressed their agency and made her case for maintaining them on these species of list of concern. I think that there are no other voices beyond that person. So and that's just public forum information. And I'm not an expert in that. What I can say is that the other 4 sentences of that are very important. The town has endured considerable financial harm. And it's not a balance. It's a, and we've paid the cost of it for a decade, at least probably 15 years since we've been able to sell beach stickers. And, you know, there is an opportunity to create some balance. I think this is a step in the right direction. And I would hope that fellow board members agree. I think a lot of people have worked very hard on this to try to understand the issues.
Just want to add to your point, if I may, just add to your point, Mike, that between the town and DBR, I think we're very good stewards of not only the environment out there, but also the wildlife. And what this bill would do, it's not a license to engage in abuse. It's simply,
Correct.
it's simply a restriction on how far the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife can go in terms of tying our hands. I'm a fan, certainly, of having much greater flexibility, given our good stewardship out there as what we are allowed to do. And I don't read this as being sort of a free-for-all out there. I see it as giving us as good stewards the opportunity to have more flexibility under challenging circumstances.
I don't see it as a free-for-all at all. I don't. What I'm seeing is that it would just remove the protection for the lease terms. And maybe we can do that. Maybe that's a good thing to do. But I don't know that. And so I'm not comfortable sitting here and saying that.
Okay. So with that in mind, we've reviewed all three bills in their entirety. Are we as a board comfortable sending a letter to the joint committee, which is reviewing it, a joint committee on environment and natural resources, supporting those bills on behalf of the town? Speaking for myself, I am. But we first need to decide that as a board before we decide what's in the letter.
And I certainly have. I wrote the
So I have two yes, third, I two, you know, I'm not as clear on three. I'm on the fence here. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I would do the first two.
Yep.
Are you still recusing, or are you back in?
No, I'm recusing myself
Okay.
from this.
All right, so, well, let me take a straw poll. Who's in favor of sending the letter a letter in support of the three bills,
Of the three bills?
of the three? Because they're kind of a package. So I'm good with sending something. I'm open to revising the letter.
Probably nothing wrong with the two of us writing a letter. I mean,
We could do it
that.
individually.
yeah, I mean,
You can do it individually. You know, as I said, I just wish that I wish I had known this was happening. I wish that we could then have brought, you know, or I could have done the research. And I'm sure there's more than one person in the state of Massachusetts that has information about the special concerned category. I didn't have the time the last couple of days to, you know, do a deep enough dive into it. So, you know.
I would be in favor of all three if the language could include the fact that, you know, we cherish, you know, something a little fluffy, sorry, but we are, you know, strong stewards of our environment.
Certainly are.
We do support protecting species that are endangered or of concern. However, you know.
and then just lead into that.
Yes.
I mean, the question for me is, right, if removing the lease terms, then that means that basically there'll be no protection plan for the lease terns, right? The chicks, wherever if they nest in a crossover, then we just push them. What is it that if we no longer have these species of concerns, right? The lease terns are not. What is the implication in terms of the conservation plan? What will DPR stop doing, and what will it help access via with the recreational vehicles? What will happen?
I am not a member of DBR. I think that would be a question for the beach
I
owners.
think what happens is that once the piping plovers have fledged,
Yeah.
then that would be the end of any special protection.
So basically, people would just come on the beach, and then if there's a lease term with the baby there, chick and all that kind of stuff.
Can I please say something? This is very germane to what you're talking about, okay?
Why don't you approach the mic
Go
and
ahead,
introduce
Susan.
yourself?
Susan Curtis, High Street. I'm sure you know I care about animals just a little tiny bit. I do want to tell you that the first 5 weeks of school, there's lease turns all over the campus at the school system. Did you know that? All over the place. And the way I know that is because I walk over there with my dogs at night, and there's a ton of them over there. There's probably at least 12 pairs all the time. But we're not stopping the school from opening. So there's a little bit of irony in that. That's it. And then I could read you about Chris Kennedy. He's not some dude that wants to get people on a beach. He has a very incredible, long, and impressive history, and it involves environmental issues. And so, if he's presenting this, you probably should look at that. He's trying to balance both things, and I think that's probably what the town wants to do as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Agreed.
So in terms of the letter itself, it sounds like we're not going to settle upon language this evening. Is it sufficient to say, well, let me back up. I think it would be very conspicuous to the joint committee if the town of Duxbury did not weigh in one way or another. So I think it's in the town's interest to weigh in. And I think we have a plurality here, or majority, supporting the bills as written. The question now becomes, what does the letter say? Should it now say something as simple as, on behalf of the town of Duxbury, I'm writing in support of these three bills, love and hugs, town of Duxbury?
No, I think that we can approve the letter conditional on 2 members of the board working on the language. And I would propose Mike and the chair, sorry, if you agree.
No, I think we
Well,
need to
and
get
I'd like,
something in.
whatever edits you want, you don't feel comfortable, send them to me. If there's something you want me to strike, or you want this sentence in here, or send it to me, or send it. I've kind of got a gist of it. I mean,
Yeah, I think
we
you,
can sign it we can deliberate it on Saturday and sign it then.
yeah,
I mean, it'll go up
I
in there.
trust you guys to come up with some,
Well, I want to make sure we're all comfortable with it,
yeah, okay.
because this is an important issue for the town.
It really is.
And we all need to be behind it in one way or another. All right, so in terms of where we're leaving this, Mike, you've got some revisions.
I guess.
We'll review it Saturday
I'm gonna have
morning.
to talk with Amy because
I'll send you, I'll
this
strike
is
some
like
stuff.
lawyer and lawyer talking right now, and
That's right, so I'm
No,
looking
it's
over,
not.
looking over at Nancy, not that we want to add stuff to Saturday morning, but this testimony needs to be in by the 18th, so we're not going to have another meeting, so we would have to do it Saturday morning.
I'll get you a revision by Tuesday or Wednesday. Today's Monday.
Tomorrow's Tuesday. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Great, so we'll do that. So we'll continue this to Saturday morning.
What time are we meeting on Saturday?
Probably 8, I always post an hour before.
That's right.
All right. Anything else to add before Mike gets back to his word processor?
Typewriter. Public servant.
His Gregorian monk?
It's gonna take a long time.
Yeah,
right?
right.
All right.
We don't get computers.
So we skipped the town manager's
Typewriter at
report. Next we,
I have this on my
oh, you do?
report.
Okay.
I can read it if you would like.
Go right ahead. Well, let's get you a microphone.
Yeah.
Or come up, you can sit up here if you'd
Come on
like.
up, Nance.
Come on, Nancy. Come on, stand up here.
No, sit up here.
Sit up here, that's what I meant. Sorry,
Yeah,
that's
please.
what I meant. Is this the last time you'll sit up here?
Yeah, I used to
No.
sit on the other side all the time, so yes,
All right.
but in this seat, first and
Welcome.
last.
This is great, actually.
All right, so this is the town manager's report.
Uh,
Okay. The first thing
That
is
is great.
Powder Point
It looks
Bridge.
great down there.
Phase 4 repairs update. Progress on the Powder Point Bridge Phase 4 repair project has been slow due to the cold, snowy 2025-2026.
I'm sorry, can we stop you there for a sec? Hey, Zach, can you get a tight shot of Nancy,
Oh, my
please, while
goodness.
she's,
No tight shot. No.
she deserves it.
Okay,
Look, there we go.
Oh, it's better.
Yay!
thank you.
All
Okay.
right, go ahead.
After being sidelined by ice in the harbor and the recent blizzard, the town's contractor, Great Eastern Marine, returned to the site this week and made substantial progress. Work on the Phase 4 contracted repairs, contract value $294,800, is expected to be completed early next week. On Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026, Great Eastern discovered damage to Sister Pile Repair number 51A, originally installed in 2021 under a separate contract. On Thursday, March 5th, the town's engineering consultant, SGH, and the DPW inspected the damaged sister pile at low tide. The eastern sister pile was observed to be broken off, shared at the mudline. Probing of the western sister pile proved inconclusive. It is believed that the damage was caused by ice in the harbor. A cursory visual inspection along the length of the bridge revealed no other apparent ice damage to the structure. SGH will conduct a follow-up inspection of the bridge beginning next week with a focus on the sister pile repairs to determine whether the bridge sustained any additional ice damage. SGH is currently working on a redesign of a new number 51A sister pile repair. Meanwhile, Great Eastern remains mobilized at the bridge with their barge currently moored in Plymouth Harbor. Great Eastern has confirmed that they are available to promptly proceed with the repair to sister pile 51A once the design is finalized. While it is somewhat premature to speculate on a timeline for the estimate for installation of the new 51A sister pile repair is late March, early April 2026. The Powder Point Bridge will remain closed to the public until such time that all Phase 4 repairs, including this forthcoming 51A sister pile repair, are completely and fully inspected. The town and SGH are consulting with Mass DOT to ensure all repairs and inspections meet safety standards prior to reopening the bridge to the public. And then I wanted to mention one more thing about town meeting. We have an organization that has created a kid zone so that kids could stay and play.
Oh, great.
And this is for children in grades from kindergarten to 5th grade. The drop-off is going to be in the high school cafeteria beginning at 8:30 a.m. There's going to be supervised play, games, crafts, and snacks. They encourage pre-registration, so that is on the town's website on the annual town meeting tab. And Danielle Klingeman, our superintendent, met with the organizer regarding the details. Insurance will be provided to the town. And just to let parents and guardians know, you'll have to also sign your child in and sign a waiver and show an ID.
So it's free?
It is free. It is free. And also to let parents and guardians know that their clickers will not work in the cafeteria. So if they sign in and get a clicker for the PAC or for the high school gym, they have to remain in those rooms in order to vote because the system is, that's how it's set up.
Okay.
Thank you,
And
Nancy.
that is my town manager's
A question
report.
about the sister piling issue on the bridge. What's the price tag for that? The $294.8 is the contract for the other repairs, right?
That I don't know, it's not here, and but I can get an answer from Sheila on that.
Because it sounds like this is something that we have to do, and it's.
And it's an addition, right?
But there doesn't seem to be, I mean, typically we would put something like this out to bid. We're kind of in a situation.
I don't think they know yet because they don't have a plan for it, right? They don't have a repair
Well, it
plan.
says that they're available to address this immediately.
Right, but I thought I had read it that they didn't know exactly what needed to be done. But they're working on that.
Yeah, they're going to follow up,
Working on a
the engineers are
redesign.
going to follow up with an inspection to focus on the sister pile repairs.
Okay, so we're going to find out what the cost of these.
Sure.
These are before they, I mean, it sounds like it has to happen, but I'm just.
It's only 4
trying to
years
figure it out.
old.
I'm sure procurement law must be followed, Amy.
I would imagine,
yeah.
yeah.
So if basically SGH has the contract engineering, again, I don't know that, but I'm sure Renee and team Sheila follow mass procurement law and are compliant in this
Right,
process.
but I'll make sure.
I would hope they do, right? Because if not, they're in big
Yeah, I
danger.
just don't know when something is discovered, in the middle of a project,
Right.
all of a
Right.
sudden there's this thing,
Yeah, yeah.
this other big problem.
Pass along a message to
Yes.
Laney and Sheila.
And maybe you can drop us a note then.
Sure thing.
That'd be great.
Thank you very much, Nancy.
What a
work.
great job you did,
Great.
Nancy.
Nice job. Can I just add something, Brian?
Yeah, please.
The Sustainable Duxbury and the Alternative Energy Committee are having a solar summit for businesses and nonprofits at the library in the Mary Room on March 24th,
Okay.
6 to 7:30.
I saw that and I was intrigued. I wanted to clarify, it's just for business and nonprofits, not for residential, because I was intrigued because it's something I would like.
I think anybody
As a
could go.
resident,
I think,
too.
and absolutely, they're going to have vendors, so
Yeah.
I think anybody could go.
Okay,
Great.
good.
Thank you.
They had a great event, I think it was last summer.
I think it was
It
a
was
year
warmer.
before that, maybe.
There's one at the high school.
It was at the high school.
Yeah, I don't think it was just last summer. It may have been the year before that.
It was
Time
all
flies.
EVs and
Just
stuff.
blur.
Yeah.
It was excellent, yeah.
Yeah.
I went in.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll reminisce later.
Yeah.
Let's go to committee appointment and reappointment resignations. It's only one, South Shore Recycling Cooperative, appointing Blair Crane, who is our new highway superintendent. Welcome, Blair.
I move that the Select Board appoints Blair Crane to the South Shore Recycling Cooperative for a term to expire on 30th of June 2028.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Event permits.
Wait. The following boards or committees
Oh,
have
yes.
available seats. There is one seat available on the Design Review Board as an alternate, on the Economic Advisory Committee, and finally on the Nuclear Advisory Committee. There are 3 seats available on the Duxbury Bay Management Commission, the Municipal Commission on Disabilities, and on the Taxation Aid Committee. If anyone is interested in volunteering on a board committee, you're encouraged to fill out a talent bank form, which can be found on the town's website under the Forms and Documents tab.
Thank you, Fernando. And these are terrific opportunities to get involved in the town. And if you personally can't do it or won't do it, but you know somebody who's a good candidate, please spread the word. Next, event permits. This is for April 11th, 2026. It's opening day for Duxbury Youth Baseball.
I move that Mr. Matthew...
Softball.
I know, I wish they'd change the name.
They did.
Softball? It
And
says
softball.
baseball.
Sorry, the motion, that was my fault. The motion is good.
That's my only sticking point every year.
So tell me what the right one is. Baseball,
It's
softball,
opening day for Duxbury Youth Baseball and Duxbury Youth Softball.
and softball. Okay, great.
Right.
Long
Can I
list.
start again?
You may.
Hey.
Because I was going to read it right. I move that Mr. Matthew Devon, as representative of Duxbury Youth Baseball, is granted permission to hold the Duxbury Youth Baseball and the Duxbury Youth Softball opening day event on Saturday, April 11th, 2026, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. approximately at the Lieutenant Steele Field House and Train Field located on Alden Street, contingent upon the conditions of the permit.
Second.
Motion and second. This day cannot come fast enough.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5-0.
Right.
What's that?
I always have a riveting speech for the youngsters
Okay, good.
about the good old days of, yeah, I'll be there.
Good.
Riveting speech.
And you'll bring the remarks and regards from the select board, I would hope. On behalf of,
I might.
yeah, all right, good.
He'll take credit himself.
All right.
I can see it.
Do we have some one-day liquor licenses, or no?
No, we just have announcements.
All right, we
And
don't have any minutes, so.
No minutes.
We have announcements. Mr.
So
Clerk.
three announcements. First, annual special town meeting. Reminder that the annual special town meeting will be held on Saturday, March 14th, 2026, beginning at 9 a.m. in the Performing Arts Center, PAC, 73 Alden Street. Check-in begins at 7:45. Lunch will be served cash only, and there better be pulled pork sandwiches.
Amen to that.
Annual and special, yes, confirmation, wonderful.
right.
I'm definitely going now. Annual and special town meeting warrants are posted on the town's home webpage under the Annual Town Meeting tab. Second, annual town election information. In-person early voting will take place at the town clerk's office, Town Hall, 878 Tremont Street, as follows. Monday, March 16th through Friday, March 20th. Monday, March 23rd through Wednesday, March 25th. Town election day is Saturday, March 28, 2026, at the Lieutenant Steele Fieldhouse, 130 St. George Street, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. for in-person voting. Finally, the next Select Board meeting is scheduled for Monday, March 23rd, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in the Mural Room. No Select Board meeting on March 16th, which is reserved should the annual town meeting continue. That's it.
But actually, our next meeting is right before town meeting.
The morning of town meeting.
Morning, Tommy. Should I mention that or not?
Sure.
And we have
Give it a go.
We have another scheduled town meeting on the morning, 8 a.m. on Saturday, March 14th at the cafeteria.
Right.
Yep.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion. There's a second. Motion and second. So that we got that, Amy beat that one.
Oh, yeah.
She got
In
ahead of you.
favor? Yeah, she's gonna.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any discussion on the motion?
No.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the motion carries. 5-0, we're adjourned. Thank you.